That's all of us. All right, so it's 6:33, December 4th. We can start the meeting. Everyone's here, obviously. All right, so we don't have any members of the public. We don't have any public hearings. We don't have any appointments, and we don't have any statutory business. So we can hop right into new business. So Ethan, if you would please come up. You can sign in right there and get your name and spelling correct for the notes. To start, I only got a couple. I asked Sharon to send a couple, and I don't think she was here today. This is just a list of conservation properties. Yeah, so I only have a couple of copies, but we don't really need them right now. So I was telling Ethan before we started on this Chapter 111 project. So we have this list of conservation properties in town. It's a little bit more expansive than what we're going to be using for the Chapter 111, but we sent it off to UNH for them to start their survey with. So. Yes, so in the packets you have a we talked about this last meeting too, was about what you coming in, and so yes, if you could just describe, I guess, what the program is and what you're doing, and then we can. Yeah, that's perfect. Is that on?
There you go.
Thank you. Make me official here.
Yes.
So UNH has been working on this town and community forest project for about the last year and a half. And I've just recently come on in Hillsborough County to sort of head up the Hillsborough County portion of this. So what we've been trying to do is to map out all of the town-owned forested properties throughout the entire state, regardless of whether it's conservation land or it's just the chunk of land that's attached to the town transfer station. We have some researchers on campus who are interested in sort of what towns own and what they're doing with the properties that they do own. So Cooperative Extension is collecting that information. We have sort of the side benefit then of, I'm the county forester for Hillsborough County, so it behooves me to kind of know where the publicly owned land is and to get to know some of the conservation commissions and introduce myself around the county. So my position is intended to help landowners in the county, town included. So what we've been doing is to contact somebody either on the Conservation Commission or in the planning board for each town. Gage was kind enough to give me some of this information ahead of the meeting tonight, with just the basics of what the town owns, where it is, kind of what the acreage is, and then all the map and lot numbers for those properties. So then, once I have the opportunity to come around and talk to somebody in each of the towns, we're interested in collecting a bit more information on kind of how the properties are being used and how they're being managed, if they're being managed, and yeah, getting some of those details down. In talking to Gage earlier tonight, it seems like maybe it would be a good thing if I could maybe walk through the survey one time just so everybody here gets an idea of the sort of information UNH is asking for, and then try to get one of you to volunteer for this effort to maybe sit down with me at a later date or even just talk on the phone to go through some of the details of this so that I don't bog down your meeting unnecessarily. So each of you has a copy of this. I think the blank sample form here. So basically what we're looking to find out for each of the properties that the town of Merrimack owns is in four major sections, starting with, and the most important I think, is the governance and protection status for each of these properties. So the project on UNH's end is somewhat grant funded, and this it's a grant that was acquired for us, the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, and I'm missing the name right now, but the folks that run the Granite View website, that some of you have probably seen, the GIS website. So this first page is the information that would go directly to that would be available in a Granite layer. So this information, looking at whether each of these properties, and I have 25 properties that met the criteria of being forested and greater than 10 acres. So 25 properties in Merrimack. And I want to be able to talk to somebody and ask, okay, is this a town forest as officially designated by RSA 31? Most of the time that's not the case. So going on and seeing, is there any other sort of official protection status, an easement, deed restriction, something like that. And then whether the town has immediate plans for development for some of these forests. If it is attached to the library and it's slated for a parking lot next year, we'd like to know that.
Just real quick, I just want to clarify one thing is when you talk about a property, you're not talking about individual parcels. You look at Greater Woods, because we already had this conversation. Greater Woods he's looking at Greater Woods as one property. So while it's made up of multiple parcels, it's one property. So when you say 25, that's still quite a few. So.
I think on the first page of that handout there, it's the terminology we're using is tracts and parcels.
Yep.
We're interested in the parcel as a whole. So for Greater Woods, I mean there's like 19 pieces in there, and I've got them all smushed together. That's one parcel, so I don't need to ask questions about each individual tract unless they differ in some sort of notable way. If half of it's designated as a town forest and half of it isn't, we'd like to make that distinction. But otherwise,
So you do
they're all
have some of that going on in Greater Woods.
we do.
Yes.
Okay.
You do have a designated town forest in Greater Woods.
Okay. Is it? But it's not the entire.
It's not the entire
Okay.
forest. Sorry. So let me just repeat. We do have a designated town forest in Greater Woods, one parcel.
Okay.
Okay. Others are part of the tree farm, which is a different thing than a designated town forest. So.
Okay. So in that instance, we would be interested just in knowing which of the parcels has been designated a town forest,
Yeah.
and other than that, so the way this is set up is okay. There's a difference in Section 2, split off there. But if Section 3 is the past management of the parcel, if that's all the same across all of Greater Woods,
Yeah.
all the better, and I can keep that all lumped in together.
By the way, for those of us who are here, Greater Woods Town Forest is how that name started. Now we call it Greater Woods Conservation Area, but it started out to be locally known as Greater Woods Town Forest because the major parcel was designated a town forest.
So there's been pieces added on that
Oh, yeah.
haven't been so designated.
Well, there was one piece that started the whole thing, which was a designated town forest, and then other pieces just came along. Some by donation, some by purchase.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, it's amazing how some of these parcels can grow over time, and it can get complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, whoever volunteers, I will try and entice you. Whoever volunteers for the project, most of the big boring survey form goes on my shoulders. So, from your perspective, the way it's worked with a lot of other towns is a 30 to 90 minute conversation. Hopefully, I don't have to ask any of the really dry questions in here, but we can just kind of talk about what's going on some of these properties, how they've been used in the past, and I'll kind of fill in the boxes as we go along. So that first section with, is there any official conservation measure, that sort of stuff, is the real, I would say, the necessary information that we need in order to make this a complete product to hand off to the folks at Granite. The rest of it, the past management, whether there's been timber harvesting, whether you employ a consulting forester or some sort of other professional to work on these properties. Some of the sections about recreational use, those are, it's okay to run those on we can't really remember, but we think this is the way that it is sort of basis. It's unfortunate to say that we're collecting data that isn't exact and extremely accurate, but with 200 and some odd towns in the state of New Hampshire, that's kind of happened by necessity. So that first page is particularly important. The rest of it, we'd like to get as much information filled in as possible. But yeah, is there anybody who feels that they would be up to the task of answering a few of these questions and might have the time for that, 30 to 90 minutes in the next week or two? And I can come back down to Merrimack, or we can do it on the phone, whatever's easiest for you, really. Or if there's any general questions about.
So you think it would just be too much to do it right now?
That seems.
We don't have a ton of things on the agenda, but I could see this taking,
Yeah.
60, 90 minutes.
If you were willing to donate the next 60 to 90 minutes, I would get it done, but I also don't want to
That's what I'm saying. So
impose
we
on
can-
your schedule.
We can be here for a while if you want.
So I have a lot of information from my previous work in the town. When we first adjudicated a bunch of these properties to see if we wanted to sell them or not when I was the town councilor.
Okay.
But that's all at home on a computer, that's not here.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's quite a few properties here that are really town-owned that the commission really doesn't pay a whole lot of attention to.
Okay.
And that background, I'm not sure is tribal knowledge within this group. So,
From past experience in other towns, if it's a property that the Conservation Commission isn't actively, maybe they're aware of it but not active in the management of, basically we check down that, falls to the selectmen to handle that property, and 9 times out of 10, there's not major trail systems, there's not major timber harvesting or other things on those sorts of properties. I'm thinking, you've got a larger development, and there's the little wetland area that's in between gifted to the
got a lot of
town.
those.
Yeah.
For the most part, nothing's going on those properties. So, if you say, yeah, that's in the middle of a development, the selectmen have ownership of that, I check that box, everything else kind of fills itself in. So it's not that there's not going to be things of interest on some of those properties, but for the most part, it's things like Greater Woods, Wasserman Park, is it Blueberry Hill?
Horse Hill.
Horse Hill.
Horse Hill. What's the island that's
Blueberry Island.
Blueberry Island. Okay, things like that where there might be more active use or intended use of the property. Those are the things where I end up filling in more boxes and having to do a little bit more, notes in the margin type stuff.
You're the only one who goes on Blueberry Island.
Yeah, I think I'm probably the only one that goes on a lot of these properties. I guess I could probably do it.
Well, I can certainly help.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of information that you have.
That Tim has, for sure.
So I have time a week from Friday.
Week from Friday.
During the day is what you're probably looking for, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I could do it in the evening if that's, better for you. So a week from Friday, I think it would be the 15th.
15th, yeah.
Okay. Would it be better if I came down to Merrimack, or?
We can do it over the phone if you've got a computer in front of you.
I think I can manage that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of it might be easier if we're following the same, using the same Granite site or NRPC site or our own GIS system, whatever else.
Let me just grab my phone real quick, and we can actually even set up a time if that works for you.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to take anything away from Matt if he wants to do it too.
If you have the time, I didn't figure you had the time.
Yeah.
Is there a particular time that you had in mind that works for you?
Yeah, the morning is better.
Morning is better.
But let's stand alone.
Would 8 o'clock work?
How about a little later,
Okay.
like 9 o'clock?
Um,
Or
I've got something from 10 to noon.
you do?
So I can do right after that, I can do before that.
Sorry, I'm alone.
Then how about 8:30?
8:30?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think I forwarded the email
Yeah.
out.
I'll email you my phone number and stuff if you want to call me. Okay.
Sounds good. Okay. With that in mind, there's one page of the survey in general that I would hope to get everyone's input on, if I can have 5 more minutes here. Sort of the open-ended question at the end of the survey. What assistance does Merrimack need in relation to the lands that it owns? Does Merrimack need assistance with the properties that it owns in terms of planning?
Can you tell me where you're looking?
I don't actually know. This might be on the back side of that instructions page. So like the second page of the entire survey.
Oh, yep.
Yep.
Okay.
First page.
Page 2.
Okay.
So, are you persistently running into particular issues in terms of the forest management, or issues with keeping up with trail maintenance, or conservation, wanting to put conservation measures in place, anything like this that you don't feel you have the tools to handle at the time being? And this is sort of for that second, the second purpose of the survey that I mentioned. I'm available to work with any landowner in the county, towns included. Towns are great to work with in terms of they own a lot of land and have some flexibility to do something with that land a lot of the time. So my time is free of charge to the town. Is there anything that would be of use to the town in terms of what's listed here that I might be able to provide?
Wasserman?
So forestry management.
Mhm.
So we have used in the past. We used John quite a bit. John Newt.
John Newt, yep.
For different parcels, he became very familiar with a number of our parcels. I think Merrimack Village District also used John Newt because they have so they have a whole bunch of property, open space property in town as well that they manage. They've used John to help them create plans for. John's created plans for a number of our properties that we have since augmented with Bay State Forestry. They came in and helped us as well, whether that was Dan Sear or Mike Powers. So,
Mike Powers.
but we're in the process of putting together some new subcommittees for properties, and those properties, both of them that I'm thinking of right away. That's Wasserman Conservation property. That's the conservation side of Wasserman, and Fields Farm both need a forestry plan put together, or at least have an idea of what's going on. We have no idea what the tree stands look like and all that kind of information.
So do you currently use the services of Mike Powers?
We have contracted Mike on different occasions, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I should better explain where my role fits into work in the county.
Yeah.
If you're trying to figure out which properties are of higher or lower conservation value and which properties you'd like to put in, or put in the time to get a management plan made, if you need help contacting the forester, evaluating some of their work, you want somebody to go out and walk the site with a forester that the town employs, and kind of give a second opinion about things. Any of those fall into my heading. Where I do work for the university, I'm not allowed to do anything that would be seen as taking business away from a professional like Mike Powers.
I see.
So right up to the point of writing the management plan, I can help assess the wildlife habitat value of that. I can help you organize, trail volunteer days to work on trail systems. I can go out with the Conservation Commission and Mike Powers and kind of walk and see, if he plans out a sale, and give my opinion on that to you. I can do anything like that, but I can't write the document and hand it off to you because that's taking business away from a professional.
Yeah.
So, okay. With it.
Well, we contract with Bay State on an ad hoc basis. They don't have a blanket
Yeah.
survey or blanket, PO with us for
Contract.
a contract for management plan. I mean,
Yeah.
we go out and pursue them, saying, "Oh, we'd like to do a plan on this property."
Yep.
So, I don't know if that really changes. If we can use UNH for writing plans. We certainly have some smaller properties that we want to get a better handle on, and
Right.
Yeah.
it would be, we've kind of, I think, kind of put it off because it'd just be cost prohibitive to keep writing 100 little plans, but
Yeah.
we do need to have something that's for, like Scalar and all these other parcels
Yeah.
that just sit there.
Yeah, so even if there wasn't necessarily a contract in place for the Sklar property to say,
Yep.
this will go to Bay State and they'll write the plan, I can go in there and I can give you my opinion on the site, and we can walk it and look at, here are, 3 different options that you might pursue with this property long term. And, maybe I can go in there and say, yep, no potential for timber management down the road, so maybe you don't pay for a management plan for that site. Or this is really high quality wildlife habitat, you want to make sure that you have a plan for this property, things like that. But regardless of whether there's a contract in place,
Right.
I can't write the management plan.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'd love to get your opinion on some of these parcels, so we have an idea of what level of management plan we should put together on them. That would be great.
What do you mean by land protection? Like I'm thinking of the Scalar
I
property,
know you are.
which is Merrimack Riverfront.
Mm-hmm.
So what is land protection? What does that include? Like,
Yes. It can include anything, from the really official, going through the process of designating a town forest or selling a conservation easement to, say, the Society for Protection of New Hampshire Forests, something like that. Down to, maybe less official conservation measures, but getting involvement from townspeople, using the property, installing a trail system, getting people to buy in on that property, which has no official conservation protection status, but which long-term, what we see is properties that are used aren't sold. So when you have, it's an educational kiosk at the front, there's some trail maps, there's some trails, there's, the birding club goes out there every, couple of months. Those aren't the properties that disappear, or that get sold off or used for the transfer station. When there's a random 50 acres out in the woods that no one ever visits, those do get turned into transfer stations.
In this case, I'm thinking of it's a riparian zone or riverfront property. Does any of the land protection have to do with that?
Yeah, so I would think a lot of those sort of, riverfront tends to be higher value property. A lot of those sorts of properties have been sold into conservation easement in the last 15, 20 years, because otherwise there is an increased risk of development long term.
Well, we own it outright.
Yeah.
And there's no development pressure.
There's no development
It's,
pressure.
the pressure that we have is Wranglers and, F-350s falling around through the mud.
Okay.
Right, it abuts town property, and in that whole area, it's floodplain.
Yep.
So they love
So is there a trail system that they have used and abused?
Yeah.
it. Well, they made.
Yeah.
They made.
And when
Yeah.
one trail, got too rutted out, they went 40 feet the other way and made another one.
Okay.
So it's
So there's rocks and gates to no avail, or?
So we've really just started trying to manage it, corral what's going on.
Okay.
Because we just purchased the parcel just a few months back.
Mhm.
The town has owned an adjacent parcel, which they've accessed through and made a mess of. And the town really didn't spend a lot of time managing it because it was out of sight.
Yep. Yep. The one thing that jumps to mind there, have you ever worked with the Natural Resource Conservation Service? It's a USDA agency.
Yeah.
So NRCS funds conservation measures through a series of cost share programs. And I'm pretty sure that they have designations for the money that they are able to spend. You're doing timber stand improvement, you're creating a certain type of wildlife habitat. And I think one of the designations that they have is access control. So they're able to do some cost sharing over, putting in some gates, putting up some signage, things like that, especially when there's what they would call a resource concern, which is there's F-350s rutting up the roads. It's causing erosion problems. It's harming the native vegetation, things like that. And
That's one way to put it.
there's a concern, right? So yeah, in those sorts of situations, depending on the specifics, they can come in. They can help offset that cost for the landowner. So that's the one that jumps to mind immediately. I also work with another one of the county foresters who does a lot more of the recreation planning as a specialty, and I can definitely talk to him in terms of what's available in terms of other cost sharing or other programs that we already have set up with that in mind. So yeah, and working, let's say for instance that you are interested in accessing NRCS. I work with the NRCS agents that cover this county, and we can definitely, I can liaise with them between the town, and we can all go out as a group and kind of get that process started. Even if at some point I more hand you off to the NRCS folks. I'm there to sort of be a go-between.
I would be outside of this project. I'd be interested in getting that going
Yeah,
sooner than later.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I think all of us are like, yes,
Yeah.
let's do
Something
that
needs to stop.
tomorrow.
Okay.
It's 3D-13 is the map and parcel. 3D-13.
Okay. And offhand, roughly how big is that property?
30 acres.
30 acres.
That's only our parcel though. The town owns.
To include both.
Well, yeah, the town owns. That's a little bit bigger, isn't it?
It's like 4D or something.
4D1, yeah. I guess it's only. Well, it says it's 22.
22, yeah.
It seems.
So 52.
52.
It seems a little smaller, but
And beyond is some PSNH land, and then the Anheuser-Busch property.
Okay. So there's that whole corridor there that's open until you hit the brewery.
yeah. The PSNH they have a switch yard, and they built a switch yard, so
Okay.
it's completely open because it's
Yeah.
defoliated and full of switch gear, but
Yep.
it's there's no you're not allowed to be down there,
Mhm.
so there's wildlife
Yeah.
activity.
Mhm.
And the reason why there was no development pressure is it's on the other side of the railroad tracks,
Okay.
and there's only a tunnel to get under,
Okay.
and it's not,
So literally on the wrong side of the tracks. That's-
or for us on the right side.
Right
Of the
side,
tracks.
yeah.
Well, yeah. Depends on how you look at it. Be positive about it. Okay.
Currently it's a town boat landing, but I think Kyle make a presentation to the town council about changing the location of the boat landing? Wasn't
Not
that?
that I know
I thought he-
Yeah, I thought they're
of. Back
thinking,
to the original?
no, moving it down to
Oh,
Mast
moving it
Road.
down, yeah.
Down to Mast Road, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Are there other major things that jump into people's minds where the town doesn't have an answer to a certain question, having persistent issues in some other sector of?
Along that same line, I think enforcement, particularly ATV, OHRV enforcement
Okay.
is an issue for us. Because that the lineage of that goes down to now trail maintenance and trail development. Because we've spent a couple days fixing a trail, and 2 days later, 3 days later, it's ATVs going down it, and this is great. They're cranking the wheels and gunning it, and
Yeah. Well, you cleaned it up for them.
so
it's
now
nice,
it's right back having ruts in it, and
Okay.
so
Is the town's official policy no ATVs?
No.
On? It's not. That's not
No.
the problem.
It varies by parcel,
Okay.
or tract in your terms.
Yes. Touche. Okay, so yeah, so we definitely have. Yeah, let me get back to you on that,
Yeah.
and I'll see what we have in terms of help available for that. Other things bordering on more the forest management, wildlife habitat management that are of interest? That's more, I mean, I cover all of these sorts of things. That's more my background, is why I ask of specific interest, but
We do have a parcel that is, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say a term, and Tim's gonna correct me, because I know I'm gonna get it wrong. It was acquired by Lucht?
The LUCT.
LUCT, yeah.
LUCT funds, yeah.
Land Use Conservation Trust.
okay.
So annually, we have to report to the state of New Hampshire the conditions,
Mm-hmm.
developments, anything new, anything, persistent issues, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that the management of that Lucht,
It's actually
report,
LSIP.
LSIP.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Land Conservation Investment Program,
Okay,
which
yeah.
has now been replaced by LCHIP,
Mm-hmm.
but it was LSIP before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
Lucht,
Yeah.
LSIP. So are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
And okay, so
Mm-hmm.
we send a report every year, and the request we get every year is you should do a stewardship / management plan,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing serious, just have something.
Okay.
And we've attempted to reach out to UNH, Cooperative Extension, in the past
Okay.
to see if there's like somebody interested in doing one for like a grad student or somebody
Yeah.
looking to do one.
Mm-hmm.
And we've never really connected with the right person.
Okay.
Is that something that you think that you could put us in touch with?
Yeah, I mean, I think the folks on campus that run the forestry program in Durham are always looking for sort of senior thesis projects and ideas for undergrads to do something that's, independent but with some supervision. And cooperative extension, we're highly encouraged to, sort of do that supervisory role. I've never actually done that per se, so I'm not sure what the mechanics of that would be. And where an undergrad is not going to have any sort of licensure, it's not going to be, an official plan per se.
Which really isn't what he was asking for.
Mhm.
It's more of like, just get something on paper so that I
Yeah.
can look at it next year.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that. I think an undergrad ought to be able to just put something on paper.
Yeah,
you
you're
know. No, I mean I would think that sounds like a reasonable project. How big a parcel is that?
80.
Okay.
Well,
That's
plus we own 20 acres abutting that parcel that we're trying to manage
what you
together
would want to.
to create a parcel in your terms.
Yeah. Man, you're ahead of me even on this stuff. Yeah, okay. So roundabout's 100 acres. I mean, that's the perfect size to hand off in terms of a semester project. Do some inventory points, maybe write up some opinions on, what we ought to be doing management-wise, potential that the property has. If you're okay with that being an unofficial document, I mean, yeah, like I said, I'm not sure how the mechanics would work, but it's definitely a project that Extension would be interested in, trying to identify a student and then bring them in. We do summer internship type of thing, so maybe next summer if somebody's, we tend to try and break them up into a couple smaller projects. You spend a month doing, conservation easement monitoring with so-and-so. You spend a month doing, inventory points and writing up a management plan. You spend a month doing something else. So if that's something the town would be interested in exploring, I
Very
can
much.
maybe,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a great parcel for that too.
Yeah.
It's got waterfront. It's got tons of granite radix. It's got a huge invasive issue.
Stream,
It's got a stream.
invasive,
I mean,
yeah.
there's a
Some old trees,
Okay.
some
it's a-
damaged pines. It's got a little bit of everything.
Damaged pines and invasives. What more could you ask for?
Right. And it has a trail system already in it.
Oh, great! So I don't have to hack my way through the
That's right.
multiflora rows or whatever.
There's no in between the trails, that's the only problem.
know,
Oh, yeah.
we have the largest burning bush population in one area that I've ever seen on that parcel.
In the
I mean,
fall.
they have
Yeah,
stocks.
branches as big as your arm.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with New Hampshire's Big Tree Program? We like to map out those exceptional individuals.
We do have one.
We do. We have an oak that the three of us would have a hard time getting our arms
Really?
around. Yeah.
I'm thinking of one on Vaughn's property.
Yeah, that's a silver.
Not the Carolina Silver Bell, is it?
Off of Wilson Hill Road?
Off of
No.
Wilson Hills.
Yeah,
That
it's
thing's
No,
even
that's a sycamore tree.
Sycamore. Yeah.
It's a sycamore tree.
Randomly, New Hampshire has the largest known individual Carolina Silver Bell,
Yeah.
which is some like ornamental type thing from Carolina. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know why we have the largest one. It's like 35 feet tall, but you know.
Is that big pine still standing in College Woods?
So that big pine, most of it's still standing. The top broke off in a windstorm 8 or 10 years ago. But as of 2 summers ago, I was in College Woods doing some work. It's got a, the top is about yay big where it snapped off. There's a birch sapling coming up in it, which I thought was just the coolest thing. So,
Who
yeah.
grafted that?
Yeah. Interspecies grafting, it's the wave of the future.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's not going strong, but in a certain way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, actually.
Do you have students that are looking for, would they get like credit or something if they came out? Because we're always looking for our properties for like someone to come in and lead a group to do something interesting. Like, we've had like people come and do bird watching and stuff like that. Do you ever have students that would want to share their expertise with people? And I don't know if they would get credit for it or get a pat in the head and an atta girl or boy or whatever.
Well, definitely the latter, the pat on the head. I think that actually falls more under the cooperative extension
Okay.
model. So I'm not aware of anything that's set up for student credit. But what I know is cooperative extension. First of all, I work in the county, so if you're interested in a guided hike with sort of plan identification for this morning, and we're going to go and hike up such and such hill, that's something that I can do. If you're interested in specifically bird watching, we have a wildlife biologist on staff who periodically does bird watching or other sorts of wildlife based programming. Anything that's sort of educational, especially if it's something that might be interesting to a broader, sector of society. Not that it wouldn't be great just to have the 7 of you, but if we could, get, some of the elementary school kids from town, or the bird watching club, or some group to sponsor something, and then roll that into a half day or a full day out in the woods. That's definitely something that cooperative extension is interested in. And a lot of the time, we periodically do those things anyways. And I've got an apple tree pruning demo, pruning apple trees for wildlife. That's for the end of March, beginning of April this coming year. And we'll do our own publicity for that, and we'll put it in newsletters, but you guys may or may not find out about that, right? But it can work the other way around too. If you're really interested and you say, we've got this, this cool property over here, we think it's got some interesting habitat types, some wildlife that are of interest, and we're looking to, spend a morning with somebody who can do some interpretive stuff, and you bring that to us and say, pitch that idea. It's definitely something we can pick that ball up and run with it, see what we can put on. It may take, 4 or 6 months to find a time that works for you guys, works for us, let us develop some programming, but that's what we're here for. So,
Good, thank you.
yeah.
Because we've done some of that with other people. Like we've done a vernal pool party a few times now over the last 10 years.
Cool.
Where we brought in a wildlife ecologist and kind of brought the kids out of school, out and got them to stick their hands and hold the jelly eggs and the whole 9 yards. So
Yeah. Did you get any? Ooh.
Oh yeah, we got plenty of that too.
Yeah, Jeff Littleton has done that for us a few
Okay,
times
yeah.
now. So.
Yeah, so I mean, kudos to you guys for seeking that out and for setting things up. If there's things in the future where you're in need of the forest expertise or access to, we've got, like I said, wildlife biologists. If you're interested in, tax information and, current use type of stuff, we do programming around that. If you're interested in, any number of things, anything related to forestry and conservation, we've got somebody who specializes in that. So, and specifically, thinking about the Merrimack area, there's a lot of smaller ownerships. Myself and there's a new Rockingham County forester, Greg Jordan. We're both in the process of trying to develop some programming specifically aimed at small woodlot owners, people who own 2 acres, 5 acres, 10 acres, but are looking to do some sort of active management on that, whether it's getting rid of the invasive species, wildlife, maybe some timber things, but that's not probably a primary. We're just in the process of developing that. So I don't know if something, seminars related to that or walk in the woods days related to that would be of interest. But that's sort of a stay tuned.
Yep.
So we're in the process of that.
We should find a way to do something educational with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's on these, to go back to these forms, one of the questions in there is, are these properties used for anything educational? How often are people visiting this in an educational respect? And that's been, I guess, one of the disappointing things in doing this in a lot of towns is that the most common answer is nope, not at all. And I think that's a missed opportunity because, most towns in the county have some sort of school, some sort of Boy Scouts program, church program, something that, bring people out in the woods,
I think you'd be very happy with seeing some of the stuff we've got going then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Greater Woods, there's a middle school that's got a 30-acre conservation easement around it.
Yeah.
Off of that, there's a 12-station, glacial erratic, just a walking, mapped out, educational walk
Yeah.
that shows people, what Castrol Locks, like just things, Beaver Pond.
Yeah.
It's all on a property
Mm-hmm.
that's in an easement around a school. So
Yeah.
that's I'd say we're doing pretty well there.
Okay. That's great to see. I mean, it's like I said, that's relatively rare across the area, and it's amazing the amount of impact that things that are relatively easy to set up in terms of, you set up that interpretive walk, and then mostly you can leave it alone and people walk through on their own. It's pretty easy, and you reach a lot of people over time. Who knows what those folks are going on to do? They end up, living life a certain way or going into conservation as a profession, or who knows. So it's great that you guys have that set up. It's nice to see. Was there anything else, what I've got down thus far, looking at maybe the Wasserman property, kind of, what level of management plans are necessary on different properties, the access limitations to that one piece with the ATV issues, and then ATV, OHRV enforcement in general. The idea of with the LSIP property, maybe an unofficial management plan internship type of thing. And then I'm going to put down the possibility of some organized programming,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
broadly stated.
Yeah, because we have some great parcels with parking and things like that, so we can do different activities.
Yeah.
We've done organized walks on some of our parcels, and I know that we've kind of shared the load with John Listoka when he had some folks with cooperative extension in his, pruning things that he did late March or early April on his property in Merrimack. John used to participate, and others did.
Okay.
And that's so.
Okay. Well, and let me leave you with this too, that if things do pop up down the road, this question of, what can we do to help out? We want that to be more or less a permanently available question. So, Gage, you have my contact information. I'll give it to the rest of you as well. I'm right up the road in Goffstown, and there's a small army of different educators behind me in terms of all different specialties throughout the state, and this has been a good opportunity to sort of get in touch with each of the towns and just reiterate our offer that we're around, and as things pop up, we're happy to work with towns as well as individual landowners. So
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you for letting me come.
So before you run, so this list that Gage has provided is town stuff, but we have two other municipal entities. One being the Merrimack Village District, which is a village district by state charter.
Okay.
They are basically our water company for the town, or our municipal water supply, but they really are truly a separate legal entity called the Merrimack Village District.
Okay.
They have, I wouldn't say a number, but certainly they have 5 to 10 open space parcels where there's town wells on them, or potential for town wells on them, or there are buffer zones around town wells. I say town, they really are Merrimack Village District wells. I should be more clear on that, because they are their own legal entity. And then on top of that, we have the school district, Merrimack School District, which has at least, yeah, they have a tree farm. They have a few other open space items that they've held.
Walking forest too.
Yeah,
It's almost 70 acres.
yeah. Well, that's for their benefit, but actually
Right.
the town owns that one.
Oh, it's trustees of trust fund.
Well,
So-
they manage it.
Okay.
The town owns it,
Town
and it's
owns
for the benefit of the school district. So talk about being very convoluted.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna stay away from that one.
Well,
Well, we'll talk about that one. That's in this list.
Well, no, but it's something that we really do need to talk about, because, I mean, you look at the 30-acre easement we have around the middle school. I mean, it's part of Greater Woods, and we manage it, the Concom manages it, and it's school property, so it's a difficult, trying to put your thumb on a piece of mercury, it's good luck. So,
which is not a good thing to do in the woods.
right.
So you're saying that they are, the village district and the school district, separate legal entities.
For legal entities with their own parcels not on this list. Okay. Now, we could easily get their list, because the assessing database is available online, and you can do a search on Merrimack Village District, and you can see all the properties that they own.
Yeah.
Same with the Merrimack School District, so it's easy to generate the list.
Yeah.
But
Well, I would actually, I'm not sure how to answer this question. I would have to talk to the person who heads this project up for the entire state to say, I don't know if that's something that I'm supposed to be mapping out, because I haven't run into that yet.
yeah, and I suspect we're not unique in this situation.
Yeah.
So certainly towns have separate school districts, and they may have their own parcels, and the two of them are
Because even look at Mitchell Woods, we're going to put a well out there.
right.
So that's our property that we're going to have, a
Yeah.
buffer zone
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. So that's owned by us, not
Yeah.
the village district, but
Yeah.
we're using it.
But it's to their benefit. Well, it's to the town's benefit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
But
people's
I would
benefit.
think with that as an example, if there's sort of, if it's a gray line between, what's the towns and what's the school districts, and they're owned by a particular entity, but they're used as common ground.
Right.
That I would lean towards we do want to map those, unfortunately, for
Well, no,
time aspect.
That's what I'm saying. This is a. We started this project, and immediately it was like, oh boy, this is going to be. There's a lot of twists and turns in this. And then when you sent that email, I was like, oh, okay.
Yep. There goes
you
the
go.
can of worms.
Yeah. So.
Welcome.
So I can certainly give you input on everything I know about those other parcels, but I'm not as familiar with them.
I'll take what input you have to give.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, with a lot of the towns that I've done thus far, it's, you go through, there's 17 different questions on the survey here, and some of them are, we don't know, and that's okay. If we can check off most of the big ones and do it in an expedient manner, so that, I don't spend years on the project and I don't take more of your time than is necessary, we're happy with that as an outcome, so.
Yeah. I expect some of these parcels will go through, and I'm going to say you need to speak to this part, because the town does actively manage some of its open space parcels through our Parks and Rec department.
Okay.
So
Yep. No, I've run into that a bit in Manchester, where it's city-owned land, but as to who's the contact person for different properties, they've got the waterworks and they've got the planning board, and
Yeah, yeah,
so yeah.
we do too.
Yeah. Oh, the fun.
Yes.
They're more slice and dice mode
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah.
Maybe this will be a good opportunity to put a little bit back together. Maybe. I said maybe.
Good one.
Okay, well, I think
All right.
that's all the information that I needed to get tonight, and I will
I'll
be
email
in
you
touch
in the
with
next
you.
day or
and-
two.
Yeah. Okay. You
So-
had asked me to
Yeah,
to
before
stick
we
around
move on,
for a quick minute.
the next item on our agenda is the tree farm discussion.
Yeah.
And whereas we just found out that Ethan is the
I'm the county chair, for
The county chair
better
for
or
the-
worse.
tree farm. I think it might be worthwhile if he,
I'll admit that I'm new in that position, so
well,
take it easy. But
no, I mean, this was not really going to be much of a discussion of the fact that we do have a couple parcels. We have a number of parcels that are on the tree farm program, and it's becoming a little bit more directive. You shall have a management plan. You shall do this. You shall do that. And the only thing I can find is if we sell pulp, we're going to get like another $1 a ton, for pulp.
yeah.
And that's about the only benefit that I can really see there.
Well, that's not worth staying. Come on, $1 a ton.
So exactly my point is, I because the point is like, what are we
Yeah.
what are we involved in this for? What does it do for us?
Okay. Are you asking the room, or are you asking
I'm just
me?
I mean, this was going to be kind of a general discussion. I mean,
Yeah.
other than the fact having to go clear the trees away from the sign every once in a while when people get angry because they can't see the tree farm sign.
Yeah. So right. So the tree farm expansion in Merrimack, and I don't mean that derogatorily was done by a different flavor of the Merrimack Conservation Commission. None of those members are still here on the commission, and last year I think we discussed this a little bit and struggled with what's the value of maintaining these as a tree farm, and we didn't really have a good answer for it for ourselves. So when we looked at all the things that we volunteers could get done last year, it fell to the bottom, and we never worked on it or looked at it.
So just for history's sake, just so people understand, is when at the time that we started getting into the tree farm and starting to expand the program, you looked at like Home Depot and Lowe's were going in the direction of we're only going to buy trees from locally from certified tree farms, and it was trying to stop this overforesting of property. So if you were in the tree farm, you could get potentially get better sales for your lumber. Well, it didn't really pan out, and we kind of stopped trying to expand the program. But now we still have parcels that are in the tree farm program just sitting there, and now we're getting these little. Hey, now you're going to get surveyed this year, and you have to have this for all your parcels, and you're going to lose your certification. We're like, well, fine, go ahead. So.
Well, and to a degree, I'd say, yeah, go ahead. There's not a specific market benefit to the town of having that land in tree farm. Were the town a private landowner paying property taxes on that parcel, I would say very, very differently. So with current use, there's the normal current use rate, and then there's the active stewardship rate, which applies to those properties where there is a management plan in place, or you're an active tree farm. So when you're an active tree farm, you get I think it's about 50% of the usual current use tax rate. So if you're paying $60 an acre on 2,000 acres or 30, it makes a big
Right.
difference. You're not paying taxes. That's my major seller if I'm trying to convince a landowner to, or they're interested in it in tree farm. That's the big benefit I quote. If it's not worth the time to clear out around the sign and make sure that you do the required inspections and stuff like that. And Tree Farm did change, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago now, the new requirements of endangered species checks and having management plans and things like that weren't previously required. It's a much more onerous task. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to try and sell you something that isn't particularly a useful thing. If you were going to investigate some sort of a certification for either the increase in timber value, the public perception, or just the intrinsic value of the sort of green certification standards, I would encourage a different standard. Something like Forest Stewardship Council or Sustainable Forestry Initiative have much more specific guidelines in terms of how forests are managed and ensure, I would say, more stringently the sustainability of forest management. They are similarly onerous tasks to certify forests by. But for instance, you go into Home Depots across the country and you see it's FSC has its own stamp that goes on the wood. Sometimes you get a premium in selling lumber if you are an FSC certified landowner. There is the benefit of FSC is really well regarded within the forest industry and for those lay people who take an interest in that thing. So if all the town of Merrimack's forests are FSC certified, or some portion of them, the actively managed ones, are FSC certified, there's a public perception benefit there, which I think is not to be overlooked in some cases. And I think it's helpful in instances where you might not have a good idea of where you want your forests to go, that a program like FSC has some bumpers on it of, no, you shouldn't do that because it's not sustainable and here's why. And those, it might cue some things as the CONSCOM or the select board is thinking about managing these properties. Well, we want to set up such and such a harvest, Wait, that doesn't mesh with our FSC certification. I wonder why that is. You investigate it, you find out maybe that's not such a sustainable practice. So there's some benefits there, but some of those things you have to be looking for the benefit pretty stringently as a town, because a lot of the biggest benefits are in terms of property taxes. Or the biggest pragmatic benefits, I should say, are in terms of property taxes.
This is it for me. All right. Well. You guys have any questions?
No, I think when we look at the scheme of the things that we have going, I'm not sure I want to put a lot of my time into the tree farm aspects of things.
That's something. So if you go to the I only had Sharon gave us the first couple pages of this. So if you go to the second page, the first 4 bullets there have these big black underlined must, and it just seems like we're doing that. Yep. And we're the only ones doing it. So I don't want anyone to think that we're trying to turn our back on the need to have management plans or manage invasives or take the proper care of the forest, but I just don't know if we need to have this overarching guideline,
Even if you go according to our bylaw or our, mission as a conservation commission, I don't know if these necessarily line up.
and where it's a town parcel to begin with, so we're not really paying taxes on it. I don't think it really buys us anything, so. All right. So we're gonna let it lapse, I guess? Do we have to go through and unregister?
So the way tree farm works is that every 5 years you're due for recertification and inspection. If you take no action as your certifications lapse, I get a notification. I call you up. I say, hey, you're due for an inspection. Do you know that? And you say, yep, we're not interested. And I go, okay, and I cross you off the list. That is going to queue for, I don't know how many properties you have that are tree farms. I'm going to call you every time. So, sorry, but I have to.
Well, actually, I think Bay State manages that.
So that you call Bay State.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Basically.
I think they were managing it for us. So
They were, yeah.
I
But
don't-
we haven't paid for that in a long time, so.
yeah,
Right?
well, actually, I think we just saw it in the budget. Was it just the budget payment? It's a budget item.
To Bay State?
No, I thought there was a line item for the tree farm though. I have to go back.
Sign clearing fee.
I'd rather be, actively withdrawing. I think it looks better for the long term for Merrimack, I think, instead of just waiting for it to come up and saying no. I think it's better to just say and why. Because frankly, it's because I think that it would be a great project maybe in 20 years, 15 or 20 years, that somebody might want to pick up when some of our properties are mature and that we've owned them for a little longer, and somebody thinks it's a great project for them. Wonderful. You were not going to be closing any doors.
Okay.
Yeah, canceling your certification is no bar to previous or to future certification. And I've never had anybody do this, but I'm sure if you guys drafted a letter and sent it over to my office and said we're pulling our properties out of tree farm, you can detail your reasons why, and I'd be happy to keep it in the. I have a file for all the properties that have tree farm. I'll throw it in there with the rest of the files and put you in the decertified status if that's something you want to do.
And it also, I know.
Do we even know which
do as you
properties
please.
are in the farm?
I have a list from a while ago, but somewhere I thought we had there was supposed to be 16 parcels, I think was the number for some reason. And my list has only got like 8 or 10, so I'll call Mike and find out what they have listed, because they were the ones that went through the initial certification
Yeah.
process, and we had them brought into the systems.
I should have a list of those properties as well. So long as,
Used to be able to get onto used to be able to sign in and get a list of your properties.
yeah,
I was unable to do that the other day, so I don't know if it's.
I mean, for better or worse, my filing system right now is completely paper, so I don't use the online one yet. I think that's. I'd like to say more my predecessor than my choice, but yeah, so I couldn't tell you whether the online system is broken or changed.
All right. No. Well, I can certainly contact Bay State too and find out what they have for a list, and we can go start with that.
Okay.
Once we get the list, solidified, then we can write a letter covering all of them.
Yeah, you do as you please.
No, I know, but
of
that's
course.
that's
And
fine.
I also think that a group like this is a typical size town in the country. If you look at sizes of places, the Merrimack is very typical, and I would think that other towns have the same issues of people wanting to participate, but there are some onerous burdens that perhaps you could influence for the good.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's any volunteers that want to help manage our tree farm for Merrimack,
That's exactly it.
be great.
That's exactly
Please
it.
step up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But, yeah,
That's what I mean.
yeah.
Okay. Ethan, thank you very much.
Thank you for
Appreciate it.
letting me come down.
Thanks.
If I can take 20 seconds more of your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does the town have a bulletin board or anything
Like a physical.
like a physical bulletin
Yeah, we have
board?
one right
I'm a
downstairs.
little sheepish about this, but Cooperative Extension made me print out these lovely little posters with my face on it, and I'm supposed to plaster them around the county.
Okay.
Would you guys take a couple posters
Sure,
and stick them up
absolutely.
somewhere?
What's that wanted sign?
Yeah, have you seen this man?
Don't let him
Yeah.
on your property.
Maybe found in the woods talking to the squirrels.
It's a Kinder Morgan spy.
Oh, Jesus. Don't. Yeah.
He's gonna be disappear in the woods.
Great,
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
thanks.
I will talk to you, Tim,
Yeah.
in a couple of days here.
Good picture. Looks like you.
All right,
All right.
guys. Have a good rest of your night.
Take care, Ethan. All right, so kind of puts that to bed.
Are we done with
Well,
B?
did anyone have any questions?
No?
Do we want to make a motion and a vote to do this, or we're just going to, by consensus, agree that we don't want to continue?
Well, I guess to be fair, we should probably see the list.
Okay. We'll
I
get the
mean,
list. We'll get the list, and we'll.
Just to be sure there wasn't one
Yep.
or two parcels that, oh, wow, yeah, you're right. That is something we're managing for
a good point.
Well,
with a real intent.
with real intent, but
Right.
one that we're managing because we're not selling lumber on any kind of regular basis.
Right.
When we go in and we have a cut, we're usually you're using that to, we're building a road, or we're using it to do a
Dog park.
dog park or something like that. Exactly. So we're taking the proceeds from those, and we're putting towards a project. So we're not even selling lumber commercially, which is, again, the only. And I sat there and went through a whole. It took a while to read through this too. It's pretty dry. Oh, it is. It was reading all the rules around this thing is it's pretty.
Tim feels your pain.
It's $1 a ton when you sell pulp.
Yeah.
You sell chip and pulp. It's an extra $1 a ton. That's the only thing, because we don't sell as a commission or as a town. We're not selling lumber on any kind of
Right.
on regular basis. So
And we don't pay property taxes, like he was mentioning.
exactly, we don't pay property taxes. So it's like, well, okay, great. It's a great tax benefit.
Right, yeah.
So. All right, so yeah, we'll get a list. We should certainly be able to have a list by the next meeting, and
Yeah.
we'll make a review of it and vote then.
That'd be good.
Okay. What's that going to be?
That'd be the 18th.
The 18th, right? Yep. Okay. So any more questions about that? More discussion?
No.
All right, the Berry Conservation 4-H Camp. So we sent this out. You guys all should have seen this already. And we have, and I didn't look at it again this year really that closely, but we used to sponsor a couple scholarships so we could send kids to a camp.
Kids from Merrimack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And that was paid through the town budget. That's the
Yeah.
education line
Yeah.
under conservation, under community development.
when I don't know the status of it. I don't know if we still have it. I don't know if we're still doing it. But we've for a long time not had anyone ever apply for the scholarships, and I remember a long time ago talking about taking it out of the budget, and I don't remember if we ever did.
So,
But
so we didn't for this designated purpose. We just we kind of reallocated the education line item in the town budget under community development, and we've used it to help pay for the Raptor classes we've
Right.
done, to pay for the vernal pool party, which is how we should have paid for the last one, but I honestly forgot all about it, and we paid for it out of the conservation fund instead. We could have paid for that through the town fund. So,
Who manages the conservation money?
which conservation? We have three. We actually have 4 different buckets of money.
Probably the big one, right?
How come?
How come?
Yeah.
Because one of them is in the town budget, which is primarily for our administrative costs and stuff like
yes,
that.
right.
Okay, so that's under Tim Thompson, under community development. There's a conservation line, and there's about $4,000 there. It covers administration costs. It also covers membership in the Society for the Protection of New Hampshire Forests. It covers the Lay Lakes program, which is really not us. It's something the town committed to do that fell under there.
Yeah.
But that's a sizable chunk of money. It also covers our membership in the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, which we get a lot of benefit for. And then there's a few other items, one of them being about $400 for education, so we can educate the community on conservation-related items. So previously, though, it was used to fund these conservation scholarships, but it hasn't been used in 10 years,
Yeah.
probably.
I
So that's just one fund of the 4.
Okay, because I was talking about the big bulk of it.
So we have 2 other funds that fall under, that were created under RSA 36-A. Those are what we call the conservation funds. And those, the Conservation Commission manages by RSA. So we own them, we manage them. They each one of them gets money in 2 different ways. One of them is a smaller fund, approximately $50,000. Gets money from whatever is left over in the town budget for that conservation piece. So Paul McCallie, if we don't spend all that $4,000 or whatever it is, he takes what's ever left and drops it in that fund, and it just keeps growing. We haven't used that fund; it's our rainy day fund. But it can be used per RSA for conservation-related matters, and the RSA lists a bunch of different things you can use it for. Very general terms, not very specific. Very general terms. We have the second fund, which is a much larger fund, approximately $700,000 in that fund, which was funded through land use change tax money. And it can grow per your latest change to Chapter 111. It can, Chapter 119, I forget that, which is the conservation fund chapter in the town ordinance. It can grow up to $1 million. And the only way it gets there is every time land comes out of current use, half of it goes to the commission's fund, Fund 53, half goes to the town coffers, or whatever we want to call it. So the general fund. So, and then we have a 4th fund, which is the Horse Hill Nature Reserve Fund, that was created as part of when the Master Plan Committee did its work and finished in 2006. That fund was created to help have a dedicated fund for Horse Hill Nature Preserve. And that has approximately $1,100 in it, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty small.
So, because we collect donations and things like that into that fund. And we've used it here and there for Horse Hill-related items, because that's what it
Like
was.
the parking lot? last
No,
year?
the parking lot was far more expensive than that. So we've used it to do some improvements, to do some plantings, some
Yeah, they buy flowers and dirt.
and bridge work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Oh, very good. Thank you, Tim.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, but I guess my question wasn't answered, my
Okay.
basic question. Sorry about that, because I thought the people at home, all your fans might
Yeah.
want to get it. Is the 750,000? Who particularly manages that? Paul McCallie,
So,
or
well,
our trust fund managers?
no. So Paul McCallie in the finance department physically have the books for that fund, but money is not taken out of that except for approval of the Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
Per
Is it
RSA.
invested?
Just like the rest of the town funds are.
Okay.
It's part of the same
And-
thing. So we do get interest on those funds,
Yeah.
the same way, following the investment policy that the town has for
That
the
the town
general.
has.
Right.
Because I know that there's different public investing that has different guidelines.
Yeah. No, we follow
And that
the,
would be the most conservative.
yeah, so it follows the town investment policy, which is approved by the town council.
Yep,
So,
very good.
Yep.
Thank you.
yep.
So I guess I like the idea of, helping out a child go to camp, but I'd rather spend the money like on doing more projects with Jack Littleton, where we can get lots of kids out, going around. But it's just
Okay. Well,
my thoughts.
Yeah, I don't think we would be opposed if someone walked up to us and said, hey, could you sponsor my child to attend conservation camp? I'm sure we'd look at it.
Yeah, if they had a financial need.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone knows of this.
That's the problem.
Yeah, well, so we used to advertise it in the schools as much as we could, but
And
honestly,
we
it
just
just
stopped getting
stopped getting interest.
volunteers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a no cell phone policy. So right there, it's just a
I was, I was, I was
wonder we
thinking the
don't
same
know
thing. If it was a virtual camp, then
They're just out.
Video game camp.
That's pretty good, that's pretty good.
One of the reasons I wanted to send this through is to share is it looked to me like this has changed quite a bit. Because before it was, kind of like day hikes type thing. If you
Now
look,
it's hunting.
well,
Shooting. Yeah. It appears to be more geared toward consumptive users than maybe our mission as a conservation
Passive
commission. Yes, and passive users as well. But
No, I think the first page is skewed towards that, but the second page is more adventure, hiking, canoes.
except for the hunter education one.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. The second page is more.
oh,
Oh, right.
Shooting.
Okay. Yep. Sorry.
shooting sports, hunter
Trapping.
education,
Conservation officer.
Trapping.
trapping. In there?
Trapping.
Under North Country Adventure, learn about trapping.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I'm a no, big time for that.
Wow.
But
Now, what town is it located in? Is it in Lancaster?
Berlin.
Oh, Berlin? Or maybe they use that
this isn't being used anyway.
ski,
I mean, you said the last 10 years with this.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
yes. We were advertising the 4-H camp in the schools, and no one wanted to go to the 4-H camp because it was just kind of it was basically this top paragraph was it, and this came through, and this is much different. It's also much more expensive
Yeah.
than it has been in the past. So. So what people we want to try this again, or we want to just leave it be the way it is?
I think it would be more beneficial to have some educational things in our woods
Okay.
for the kids.
I agree, especially with Ethan offering himself
Yes,
Yeah.
to.
Okay.
we want to toot our
Potential
woods. We don't want to.
project.
We don't need to toot North Country woods.
So we don't need to do anything with that.
No.
Goes right back in the pile.
and those parts good, as you say, for the North Country.
All right.
Could bring back those trapping skills.
What? Send Cindy All right, so going on to old business. You guys were all on that email I sent out to the chief and to Tim Thompson regarding the signage down at Scalar. Obviously, we're already missing at least one sign. And the chief she responded to me, and I got a call from Officer Tarleton, and they're going to try to increase the patrols down there. Obviously, they can go down there with the cars. They can't really get too deep into the woods. But he did offer up that one of the better ways to get more focused enforcement down there would be to sponsor more. Sponsor a detail. So, not the first thing I really want to do, but based on the history with Greater Woods, how well it worked out there. But It's also, it's only 30 acres versus trying to have them detail 600. So before I said no, I just figured we should talk about it.
How about a camera? We talked about cameras.
We have.
So they are not willing, like, to take a patrol on a weekend down there?
They said they would try to increase patrols down the road.
That's town property
That's
anyway.
town. That road is town property.
Yeah.
Yes. So
So his response was, we would patrol it more if you paid us.
yes.
And then I'm not trying to be derogatory on this, but
Well, he could. Right now, if they send someone down there, they're privy to being called away.
yeah.
If we pay for a detail, they can go and expend the time and stay there.
Right.
And it is one of the problems we've had down there in enforcement is someone goes down there, they're down there for 10, 15 minutes bombing around, and then they leave.
And they leave, right.
And then and by the time the police get down there, someone calls and police get down there, they're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, excuse me, yeah, sorry.
No, and it's happened before, and we had the same thing from Fish and Game. I mean, Shepcheck went down there a number of times. He said, if I'm here when they happen to be here, it works out really well. I could be here 5 minutes before they show up, or 5 minutes after they leave.
It's like the other dump in town, too.
It's what?
It's like the other dump. The
Yeah.
town
Yeah.
property,
Yeah.
the tires and the electronics.
Well, and that's
It
something.
really is. Well,
And that's something we
the
we
dump
could
is better
we
looking.
can send up to town council or to the town manager, say, look, there's dumping going on down there. It might be worthwhile to at least go down there and clean it up once. That cul-de-sac at least.
Yeah, but
To
in the spring, I think we definitely should do that.
and again, that's all we can do is just notify to the town, say, hey, wouldn't that be a good idea?
Can we request, if we request a detail, can we request the police officer to be in plain clothes? Preferably, in like plaid and jeans and hiking boots and, because if they see somebody in a police outfit, they're gonna
Leave.
behave. Yeah.
Well,
So,
they wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
yeah, there's two ways to that. Two ways to it. Do we want it to stop?
I think we also want to find out who is doing it, because they'll stop for a while, but then they'll just go back and do it if they have
will.
another chance.
Now, I need a little updating on who you talked to and when about sending a detail down there from time to time.
So I sent that email out the other day when we finished signing it. Are you getting the conservation emails?
Yes, some of them. I think there are some that I don't get. I did get some, but I don't recall one
Is she on the list?
Yeah, she is. She's supposed to be. You are supposed to be on the conservation
Yeah.
list. And so you're getting them.
only seen one
On this.
Okay.
about this.
About this. So it was a letter to the chief and to
her
Tim
response.
Thompson, and the chief responded, and it had a couple pictures in it of what we'd done, and just the fact that we'd finished the signing the other day, and they were, it's been signed. It's private property. It's been signed, and we've already had someone steal a sign. So that was what, 2 weeks ago? That went out?
And is there any follow-up scheduled?
We heard back from the chief via email, and she had Officer Tarleton call me,
Okay.
and we spoke about it, and what some of the options. I was like, look, we don't have the enforcement ability. One, I mean, other than saying, hey, that's private property, get off. But
Yeah.
good
like
luck.
any other landowner. Yeah.
And so he's saying that they could have a targeted detail that could spend up to 4 hours or so down there if we were willing to sponsor a detail. So other than that, they're going to have to send people down there just on a kind of a drive-by, as opposed to spending any time down there.
Yeah.
And this is town land now. It's town land.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, part of it's town land, yes.
Yeah. The part that they will be,
But the part that they would be traversing is town land.
Yeah. it's my understanding that there's no particular concerted effort to police town land. When we started having graffiti on, by we, I mean the town center committee, on the new river trail, you started having graffiti there. They did send some people down from time to time. I think they still do. But I think this is a new concept, and I think that there has to be a conversation about that between the citizens and the police department and town manager, of course. Because there was some talk 2 months ago, when the graffiti started, of adding 1 or 2 policemen. Trouble is, you have to add 2 to get the benefit of 1 because of the hours and so forth. Though there wouldn't be any at night, but I think that I'm going to talk to Eileen about this.
Okay.
And
Can you, because in the past,
Yeah.
we did sponsor for Greater Woods patrols, and we spent a few thousand, we spent,
did really?
out of
Yeah.
our conservation fund, we paid for patrols, and I don't think we got a great benefit out of it, as in, I don't think it changed the behavior at all. After
No.
spending quite a bit of money on it. I'm not trying to put down the efforts of the police department. They went out and did their patrols,
Yes.
but we didn't see the benefit of it.
They have to do what they have to do with the budget that the town votes.
Understood.
Yeah,
So-
and so,
But maybe this is the right time of year to be talking about budgeting and
It
where do
is.
we prioritize our town properties for police activities?
I personally agree.
So,
But I think that if we looked, not to be too philosophical about this, but look at human nature, we know what the end result's going to be. The signs are going to be stolen. There's going to be more gouges. That we can detour.
And there's shooting there also.
And what?
And there's shooting.
Oh, I think
Yeah,
that
they're
is just so
they're-
it's unbelievably
It's
dangerous.
on town property. They're dumping,
Yeah.
TVs and whatever, and using them as targets.
No. And there are people in this town that have nice big plans for that new property, for a historical site, for the ferry landing. But yes, I'm going to have that conversation because this is really a problem.
Yeah, I mean,
this isn't even
the
Merrimack people.
the day that we went down there to sign it, there was someone parked. There was someone parked on the side of the river. I mean, they were literally, 8 or 10 feet from the edge of the river, which is, that's well within the 25-foot buffer zone of no encroachment. And he got stuck in the mud. So while we were leaving, the tow truck was going down there to pull him out.
I really don't care about his car, but I do care about the tow truck going down there and
Yeah, well,
gouging it
that's the
out.
thing. So I mean, there's we have evidence of people down there breaking the law.
You bet.
So
Yeah, yeah, and I don't mean to be non-supportive of putting, because that is a basic thing to put signs out, of
Yeah.
course.
my only thought about this was it is definitely a different property than Greater Woods. I mean, it's much smaller, it's much more contained. Like the access to it is much more contained, and if our appetite is that we'd like to sponsor a detail, or we want to at least talk about it further, we might get a little bit better. It might be more fruitful down that way than Greater Woods.
One camera in the tunnel. Problem solved.
I think that, I never thought of that, never thought of it.
I think you're going to solve some of it, yes, but we still got ATV traffic getting in there, which that's coming in over the tracks. That's coming in from wherever it wants to. So yes, you're right. I think that
I think I
that would
like
help.
that.
that would help a lot.
Cameras
That
would
is
help a lot.
really a good, because I was thinking, because I've been, over by the granite works, and you just go from like Dana Patterson's property to the granite to some other.
Well, if you're down there, be careful because the shooting is coming from the
Town parcel.
town parcel towards Patterson.
Great
Yeah, so they're firing.
ball fields, just the thing.
Yeah, they're firing towards downtown Merrimack.
Yeah, so grab a flak jacket from the police when you go down there.
Even, I told you that even my ranger husband gets off of Greater Woods when we hear the
Not anymore.
rifle fire.
Not
Oh,
anymore.
shit, a woman just got shot out in California, I mean,
Killed.
in New York.
Yeah.
Someone was
The
hunting.
hunter was brought up on manslaughter.
Yeah.
It's every
As it
year
should
there's
be.
somebody.
Yeah. I just heard about the woman in Hopkinton that was mountain bike riding and was shot.
Yeah, this was a woman.
okay, though.
Yeah, this was a woman. She was killed.
She was walking her dog.
She
100
was
yards from our house.
Yeah. And he was her neighbor.
He was, huh?
38 years old. He's going to be brought up
bring her
on
back.
manslaughter charges.
I don't think there's any charges for the one in Hopkinton.
Not yet.
I guess you can just shoot somebody.
Live free or die.
All right.
So,
Rates
so
are
just to help close on this, I would be more apt to support and pay for patrols if we also did a total cleanup of the area at the same time. We did the cleanup and then we did the patrols.
Okay.
Okay, but right now, where it just looks like a mess,
Yep.
it looks way too inviting, and it doesn't look like we care. So to pay for patrols when we doesn't look like we care, I don't think sends the right message.
Yeah.
That's a
Once-
very good
Because
point,
we
too.
got huge results out of cleaning up the spot in Greater Woods. That was a problem, and increasing patrols.
Signing it
And
and then
Signing it.
patrolling.
So I think the two have to go hand in hand. So we should probably plan for a spring cleanup day,
Absolutely.
do the cleanup, and then immediately have extra patrols. And I'd help support paying for those.
Can we,
Along with that, though, we're going to have to get the town involved because a huge part of that, where the trash is town parcels, is town property.
Yeah, the
In fact,
majority.
about 95% of the
Yeah.
trash is on the town parcel.
can we
Interesting, okay.
do what
It's on the road.
Yeah.
we did when we cleaned up the shooting site at Greater Woods and get like DPW down there with the
That's
trucks?
what we should organize a day
Yeah.
where we have Public Works with their trucks to haul the stuff out.
Yes.
Come down with their bucket loaders to pick up the big stuff that we can't pick up.
Do we want to get like Anheuser-Busch or some other companies involved?
Well,
They want to be involved, they want them to be, but they need that support. They need to have the vehicles
Right. We need.
and
Yeah.
stuff.
So if we can plan a day, then we can potentially,
Yeah.
more. We're not going to get it all.
Right.
It's a mess.
yeah.
So, you could have 100 people down there all day and still be, it's going to be better, but it's still going to be stuff out
That
there.
would be
So-
something.
Like,
So
love next
this
time.
philosophy also worked on Horse Hill. It took us about 3 years, but we had concerted cleanup days every 4 or 5 months, and we went through and cleaned it. And we, at the time, our Chief Mulligan was really good about bringing in some patrols, and we had the gates open. Actually, we didn't even have the gates set up yet on Old Kings Highway, and we got the cleanup and the people out of there. So.
And we've been very open from day one that we need town assistance. And with this property,
To
that's
start like a
bought it.
steering committee for this parcel in the next few months, is there some kind of town permission, I think, that's needed?
It's ours.
Well, to the town parcel too.
Well, the town part, that you want to have a steering committee that decides what's going to happen with the town parcel. That's going to require the town.
Yeah,
But our parcel, we can,
but they go hand in hand.
yes, they do. But we got to start cleaning up.
Yes,
So I would not, to me, the steering committee can grow
yeah.
and become bigger, but I wouldn't want to wait. I don't want to wait.
Yeah, no.
So.
I'm just saying to start, to have something started like that.
But
You need to-
I mean, in all reality, we're not going to get a cleanup before spring or late winter.
yeah.
So we should start working on a cleanup day for early April.
Yep.
By then, we've lost enough snow and we don't have the vegetation, so we can see things. Right?
Yeah, what about high water?
No, that's before the water. The water comes in May. Late April and May is when the water levels come up high.
So
Right.
it might be muddy. It's going to be a good chance of being muddy. 'cause
Oh,
that's
good.
That's all silt out there.
Yeah.
Double knot your shoes.
The old shoes.
Yeah. We'll just duct tape them right.
You just take out your Wonder Bread bags and put them up over your shoes and tie them off, and there you go.
Get
That's
my
what I did
wellies
as a
on.
kid when it was muddy out. My mother would give us the Wonder Bread bags, and we'd put them up over our boots, and away we go. Our shoes, yeah.
Great traction.
Yeah.
Of course.
But a agree.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, unless people are not going to have any respect for a property until it's cleaned up.
Right.
That is the first thing.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued with the idea of the camera. And there's two things that
Whose
might...
camera? Whose camera?
The camera, the imaginary camera that we think we should put in there.
Yeah.
And move around from location to
Yeah,
location.
at
so
least to
that-
notice that there's pictures being taken.
Yeah, right.
Smile.
Yeah.
You're on camera if you enter this tunnel.
Problem is that
No,
there's
it's
a...
public property. It's public property. You don't have to post it as long as you're not taking any
Right.
sound.
I have trouble
No,
hearing.
no sound.
This room is...
As long as you're not recording sound, you don't have to post it. It's public parcel. It's a public property.
Yeah.
There's no. You don't have to post it that you're taking pictures.
Yeah, I'm not so much worried about that, though I'm glad you answered that question. But anybody can go, as you say, anybody can go through the bridge. But to sort out the people who are there for trail or bike riding and so forth, that's trickier because nobody's going to be sitting. Well, it would go into the police department perhaps, and the camera that we do have now is monitored from, I think, fairly regularly. The one at Abbey Griffin Park. But
Typically,
that's
the ones that are doing the worst damage out there
yeah.
are the ones that, when they leave, all you can see is where the windshield wipers wipe,
Yeah.
and everything else is mud.
Yeah.
That's our target audience.
Yes.
That would like to have they would like to have them talk to our officers.
Yes.
The people that are going down there to drop a boat in the water and canoe around, their trucks are coming out pretty clean.
That's
And-
interesting.
And
yeah.
the canoe's sitting in the back of the truck.
Yes.
So you can really tell what's what.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's busier down there than I thought.
Yeah.
Because the other morning I went down there to put those last signs up, and drilled 6 holes, 6 bolts. 8 people went by me.
Wow.
In vehicles or?
Yeah, 8 vehicles. So I was kind of surprised.
To park or to?
There was they were all non-4-wheel drive vehicles.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
On what?
Non-4-wheel drive
Oh,
vehicles.
that's committed on that road now.
Yeah. So I think some of them were down there hoping to be alone, but they had company. So
They go to the couch. Yeah.
So you have to be careful where we place our cameras. You never know what you get on camera.
Yeah.
Could be a little romance on the camera.
other
Little break.
activities.
Little commercial break.
Moms
Yeah.
and dads, do you know where
Could be a
your
little
children
party
are?
on the camera.
Yeah.
There's other. They could be doing other things too.
That's right.
Text
Yes, they could.
So text me.
It's a little early in the morning for that, but I'm like, okay, guys, whatever you want to
Don't
do.
worry about her.
Carry in, carry out.
All right, so we're gonna
Yeah.
hold off on. I'm gonna tell Officer Talnut we're not going to do anything at the moment.
Right.
We're gonna organize a cleanup day, and then we can. And you're gonna.
I'm going to talk to
You're
the.
gonna bring it up and-
It's such a good time of the year, as somebody
Yeah.
said, to do this. Because I know that the DPW was feeling very positive about the need for this. I remember that. And I don't know what's been kind of going on in the background. So
Okay.
I'll try to find that out.
It's easy.
See if there's something going on.
All right.
Thank you, Jackie.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Still think we should authorize Matt.
All right. Now for the fun part. Take it away, Tim.
Chapter 111. Here, take one, pass it down. Take one, pass it down.
Is this different than the one you sent out?
The one I sent you is not the one that Sharon
The
put out.
second page was
Oh.
revised.
You,
Okay.
you had Sharon post the original, not the updated one.
Okay.
So I noticed that
So is it only just this page is changed?
only page 2 is changed, and it's only a couple of paragraphs at the very top. I didn't see the need to reprint the whole document for everyone, because everything else just kind of pushed its way down.
Yep.
So this is basically the project to update Chapter 111. I've laid out I know I introduced it at our last meeting, so I laid out a process to do that. What the steps are, what I thought the steps should be, who should be involved when we want to have public actively involved, and where the public can always attend and be involved, but when they want to be actively involved, when we want to have town council involvement, when we want to have town staff involvement, how we're going to pay for all of this. The only thing that came out of our last meeting was I hadn't included properties where the town has an easement on them, so I've adjusted that paragraph to include properties that we have an easement on. One example being the Greater Woods easement, the conservation easement on the parcel out by Greater Woods that the Merrimack School District owns, that we actively manage. I honestly am not aware of any other parcels that fall under this, but I could be wrong. So. And I think getting into this, we'll find out more as we go through the list. So, and start asking questions. So I guess what I was hoping for tonight was to get concurrence from the commission that you agree with this process or a variation of it, and that we're ready to pass this to Eileen, the town manager, and Tim Thompson to see if town staff agrees with the process. And if we can get that concurrence, then we should schedule a meeting with the town council and get their concurrence on the process and who's going to fund this. Because when we met with the council the last time, what I committed to doing was in Q1 have a proposal on how to do the update, and this is the proposal. So if we can get the town council concurrence, either in December or January, then we'd be ready to go. If it takes till February, we're ready to go. But beyond that, I figured tonight I could answer questions. We could add pieces to this if you think we need to add or amend. But I'd like to take the end result of this, make any updates, and ship it off to Eileen and Tim and get their feedback. Make sense?
Very much. Yeah.
So.
It's very thorough.
Yep.
And I like that you have, time on there, time restrictions so that they have so much time to do things.
Yeah, I think without time restrictions or intended time restrictions that it won't stay moving, and we need to keep this moving once we start.
Yep. I think it's, my opinion, it's ready to go. Of course, you would be disappointed if I did not find one or two typos.
Did you?
Yeah, I found two.
Excellent.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Tell them afterwards.
Did you find two too?
I don't take any of this personally, so go right ahead.
They're tiny.
Yeah.
They're tiny, and one is just so common, and I'm
Yeah.
sure Cindy could say which one it was.
So she's going to make you do the
No, I
dirty work.
know.
No, it's just the difference between loose and loose. So that was one of them.
Where's that?
Oh, it's on page
Page
3,
numbers.
way down on
Oh, it's
number
that's at the
3.
top. It's at the top.
On the note, sometimes tax deeds.
Loose.
Yeah, just cross out one of those O's.
Okay.
And then I would suggest that on page 6, down on number 6, provide copies, I would put an of in there, provide copies of the final draft to the town council.
Yeah.
Hi. So Cindy and I are on the same page there. Same
Wow.
pages.
You guys are good.
All right, so I only have a couple things just to more discuss.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that we're going to use a list of this fashion is going to be the genesis of the list, and how we're going to section out what category it falls into.
Yeah. A list like this would be our starting point.
Right. So I would think, but I can just imagine a couple more columns saying, okay, this is a classification A, this one's got B, and that's going to build our groups as to what it is. So that means that we're going to have this data that we're going to be generating. Where's it going to sit? Where's it going to stay? Does it go back in the assessing database? Does it go back into a flat file that we hold? Because if you look, like we've done all this work to get the beaver management plan, all those layers are sitting with GZA. We don't have any place to put them on our data. We don't have access to them. We have access to them, but we don't have them available to us. And we can't really update it until we send them a note saying, hey, we want to update this. So if you see this list, there's a column here called property name. I put that in there. That's not part of the assessing database.
Yep.
So to me, the lot and map numbers don't really mean anything. I like having a name when we can go in and say, this is part of Greater Woods, this is part of this, it's, because that's how we know the properties.
Yeah.
So just that little column is, right now, not something that is going to be put into the assessing database. So
that's a great question. We need to figure out how we're going to
right.
capture and retain this information.
Because even the data that Ethan's going to be gathering, I can see that impacting. There's going to be easements. There's going to be all that other information. We're going to want some place to have the ability to go look at that or draw from it. So
Right. And
I just
the town may need it for some reason down the road.
We got on page 2, in item 1, the Excel file will be provided by the town assessing department, which is, okay, that's fine. But now, what do we do with all the data? Can we give it back to them and expect them to repopulate that assessing database? Are they going to add fields for us? And because to me, that's where it belongs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, we'll have to ask that question.
Include that in this, you think? Add another couple sentences or something? Here?
Yeah, or I can pose it as a question at this point, and when I can get input from Eileen and Tim as to how they think is the best way to do this, right?
Because ultimately, it's going to be their decision where it ends up.
Yeah.
I just have another real quick question on. I'm using Platonic Bowman as a example. Item 2
Yeah.
is town properties that have municipal improvements, include buildings, athletic facilities, whatever. Things that are not covered. Those are things that are not going to be covered in this, right?
Correct.
So, if there's parcels that have a conservation purpose, but have a development on it, such as a building or a shed or whatever, is that something we're going to X out?
Well, Platonic Bowman, isn't that's private?
It's private, but I'm saying,
Well, that's kind of what that note was, to try and capture that there's going to be exceptions,
okay.
right? And that's what my note on that page really points out, is there's going to be properties that may have an improvement of some sort.
Okay.
That we think has conservation use. So then it'll stay on the initial list, and then figure out what we want to do with it as we go through it.
Okay.
So.
Yes, that's private, but I'm saying it's just
Right.
something that has, for all practical purposes, it's a conservation property. I mean, it's a conserved property. It's not a conservation property.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, and in reality is once the well goes in on Mitchell Woods, that'll have an
Yeah.
improvement on it,
Yeah.
but it's a conservation
And there'll
property.
be a pump house. There'll be
Yeah,
parts out there that aren't
right.
conservation, but it's still a conserved property.
Maybe get rid of the word all
Where are you looking?
under number 2. This determination includes removing all town properties that include or that have building sheds. athletic-
Well, you said it's going to remove everything that's covered under Chapter 142. So, what does that mean for the well? That's a great example.
Well, it's not on 142.
Right. That's going to be MVD though, right?
No,
No, that the parcel be covered by MVD's rules, or
Yeah.
part of it. The access control, the buffer zone, all that is going to be MVD.
yeah, because we've already given them an easement.
Right.
Right, so they have an easement on that parcel, so that easement will dictate what we can and can't do out there.
That number 2 is just very inclusive by saying removing all town properties that.
Yeah, I mean, we can remove the word all.
Covered by chapter 142. I mean, it's
Well, it says or are covered by 142.
Right, it's not or,
Or.
it's or are, it's not and,
Yeah.
or, so.
So that's very inclusive with or.
Mhm.
well, again, this is a proposal,
Yep.
Yeah,
so we're gonna get feedback.
I mean,
I'm sure we're gonna get feedback.
someday I envision having, maybe a shed
Yeah, a
On-
storage facility.
on Greater Woods so that we
Yeah.
keep things there,
Yeah.
Wow, great idea.
Mhm.
That's exactly was my point, because I was trying to put stuff away this weekend, and I'm like, I'm moving Kestrel boxes and
Yeah, me
kiosks
too.
in my shed to try to
My
get
house
stuff
is
packed
so
in
many
there.
signs that I'm tripping over, and I'm
Right.
like, I gotta get this out of here.
Yeah,
I'm sick of being storage.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
So,
That's where it's from.
yeah.
that's what the chip down the signs.
Trip down the side, yeah.
And a mouse got me.
That.
The real story.
All right, so what do we?
So-
what, number 2, who's going to reread that? What's it say now?
All right, so what I meant by that first bullet was municipal improvements.
Yeah.
So those are things that we need for have a municipal purpose.
Mhm.
And then
Which would not include if we did something.
If we put it, right, because that falls under the note. So if there's an improvement that has a potential conservation purpose,
Okay.
I put kiosk, I can also put shed, storage shed, I can add that to the list, if you'd
No,
rather I did.
To me, storage shed is covered under et cetera.
Mhm.
For
Correct,
instance.
Yeah.
right, right,
We just underline
So-
municipal improvements.
yeah. So, I mean, my intent is not to
Kiosk,
rule out
shed.
an obvious property, in other words,
Mhm.
so. Do we want to make a change, or you want me to add shed to the list?
No, I don't think you need to.
That shed was on the list there.
In the municipal.
As a municipal,
I mean,
That's-
I don't-
that
I
would be a
don't-
reason for
I-
Xing it
That's
out.
one of the getting it off.
But,
No,
Municipal shed versus other shed are, two different things.
yeah.
No,
Okay.
I like it the way it is.
All right. Okay. I mean, we're all going to see the different lists, so if we pull
Yeah.
a property off, you'll have more than one opportunity to say, hey, wait a minute, time out. Any other corrections, changes?
No, that was good.
All right.
Uh,
So there was one thing I thought, based on our discussion early with Ethan, was we probably should have a column that says, hey, is this a designated town forest per RSA, blah, blah, blah. That should
On this?
it should be on our list, yeah. Yeah, if we're gonna take go through the whole process of understanding our properties and restrictions and all that, we should
Yeah,
probably
that's
have
what I'm
that.
I can, from what Ethan's gonna gather, I would think we're gonna get columns.
Yes, we're gonna get multiple columns, yeah,
And, so,
yeah.
that was kind of my question for this, but also the question for that going forward. All that data,
Yeah,
I wanna have it.
yeah, right.
I wanna keep it.
Right, it needs to be accessible and available and all that. Yep, I agree. So I will put in a comment in here that says, once we've collected all this data or whatever, is how we need to develop a plan to keep, retain, maintain, and make
Access.
available,
Yep.
right, access, yeah. I'll add something to the plan that covers that. I'll probably put a little bit further down the list by the time we, way back, it'll become like item number 10 or 11 or something like that, because by then we'll have a mature list
Okay.
with all the data collected. So, and of course, we won't lose data. It might just become a hidden field, or it might become part of a second sheet in an Excel workbook or something like that. Does that make sense to all of you when I
Yep.
say Excel workbook?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Just want to be sure.
Yep.
So, because that's kind of I figured we would parse them out for a while. We'd have category A worksheet, and a workbook, or something like that, just for organization purposes. So,
Well, I think I sent this out as the Excel file, I believe. So
you did.
I don't, I'll make changes to it if you want, or you can hold it, or I just don't want to be making changes to it, then you be making changes to it, and
Well, so again, the first part is just to let's get
Yep.
concurrence with everybody that this is the process. In the meantime, I'm not planning on working the list at all.
okay.
Because until we're sure everyone's behind this, or some version of this, I don't want to spend any more time on it, because we got other things to work on. So,
Mhm.
not to say that we don't think it's important, just I don't want to redo work.
I'm going to ask a really dumb question because I don't really understand all the Excel and everything. So Excel is a spreadsheet. Okay, but then isn't there something that you pull up a page and it has all these different fields and then you put all the different fields and then from there you can generate a spreadsheet? Does it make
Yes.
more sense to do something like that?
That's how this was generated. This is generated from a database.
Okay.
So the database is a relational database. You can have multiple tables and multiple fields
All right.
that can talk to each other, and you can run reports out of them, and the reports are a flat
Okay.
file.
Because with Excel, can't you also just go in spreadsheet-wise and just key the stuff in like it's a spreadsheet?
You can.
Yes.
All right. So,
And-
like I said, that was a dumb question. I was just
No, it's not.
curious.
You don't understand it? It's a good question.
Yeah, and there's a whole lot of features you can add or not use or never use with Excel.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because I was just thinking it's nice to have one page that's just all of your information, then you can generate your spreadsheet to be anything you want, because you might just want 3 fields. You know, print out a sheet that's just 3 of the fields instead of all of the fields.
Yeah.
So,
And there's report engines that can run out of Excel too.
okay.
So you can use it, kind of like a database. It's a little.
Yeah, when I left the workforce to have my kids, I was still working in display right. You don't even remember that, do you?
I've heard the term.
Yeah. It's a long time ago. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Lotus 1, 2, 3. That's what I
Oh,
used.
that's-
Oh,
No,
yes.
I'm talking about it. It was
Yes.
it was
That's
a
not-
word
that's not that long
processing.
ago.
Yeah, display right was a word processing.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yes, Lotus 123 was the first mainstream spreadsheet program. Yep. Back to the early 80s. Yeah. No, late 80s.
I installed a lot of TechNet.
Yeah. DECnet, yes.
Editing myself.
Yes, you are.
All right.
All right, so I will make the corrections, and I will forward it to Eileen and Tim and start seeking staff consensus.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Boys and Girl Scouts. So we've had I'm going on to the other business now. We've had seemingly a bunch of scouts contacting us, and I know they contact Matt, they contact Tim, they contact me. They're kind of going through ever. Do we want to have a person to act as the liaison for initial contact, so we're creating, because
No,
no,
because then you have to deal with every single one, and they get cloudy.
well, initially you have to deal with every single one, yes, but I mean, there's no like you kind of took the lead on when the Girl Scouts were doing the bridges. I mean, once the project gets going and one of us has the time to be the person, that's fine. But I mean, just the initial contact. I mean, because right now I'm dealing with this kid Jack, who wants to go. We were just talking about the other day the observation deck, and we talked about it in the Greater Woods subcom. Was the classroom rebuild is seemingly kind of stumbled, and okay, well then let's put it back out there as a project that's available to the scouts. So, someone contacts me, I'm thinking, oh, I got these couple projects. Someone contacts you, you got these couple things. Someone contacts you, you're this. So do we want to have a kind of a list of projects that you know, we know we need bridges here, we need this, we need this, we need this. in
Yeah,
the-
that
in the
might stop
properties.
what, like that kid had in mind. He wanted to build this trail by
That's
the
Jack.
ridge, connecting with the ridge and the
Right, that was,
school.
that's
I
Jack.
think
Yeah.
the trail that already exists.
Well, no. Did you look where he drew it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's,
So-
I was like, it's wet. You're gonna be walking through wetlands, you can't. He's like, oh, it was pretty dry when I walked through there. I was like, yeah,
I mean, so they would have to know that we would have a list, like,
right.
Scouts would have
So,
to
but
know.
I was saying is, he contacted us and I said, look, you know, that's fine, but I gave him a list of things I knew off the top of my head. I don't know all the ones that are in Horse Hill. I don't know all the ones that are in Wildcat. I mean, I'm sure there's other projects that need to get done
Yeah.
that,
I think with the scouts, and I agree, we shouldn't be giving 2 scouts the same list.
yeah,
However, until they come in front of us and present something,
yeah.
they haven't done anything yet.
Oh, no, I understand that. But I want, this kid is from Bedford and happens to walk in Greater Woods. Okay, fine. That's, you know,
Great.
okay, so that's what he's familiar with. Okay, great. But, I mean, if we have a, you know, when the Girl Scouts came to us, they said, you know, they came to us and said, okay, you know, what can we do? Well, okay, yeah, we got some stuff over here we can do. We got some of this. We got, you know. So I don't know, do we want to have a kind of a scout list?
Every subcommittee will make a list and.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we do now.
Yeah.
Each subcommittee has a to-do list in their plan.
Yeah.
At least
Yeah.
Horse Hill and Greater Woods do.
Yep. I'm saying, but there's things like the observation deck that's not on there.
Is it the outdoor classroom?
No,
Oh, it's not.
the outdoor classroom's not on there. That's a good point. You know, so I agree with you. I mean, that's just if that list is in the document, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of something that's going to be available.
Are you looking for just like a point person that, so if something comes through onto our
Initially, yeah.
email, that
Right.
somebody just goes and says, oh, okay,
Yeah, kind of the, you know, pre-filter to make sure
Yeah.
we're all going in the same direction, and then it can be passed off to that subcom or that
yeah,
person that gets
that
going.
makes sense. It's just so that we're not, because I mean, I'm getting, I don't know, something came through for Wildcat Falls and I felt comfortable responding to it, but, you know.
Yeah, it was about the
From a
memorial
scout?
bench or something. Memorial bench?
No, it wasn't for, it was, I can't remember what it was. Oh, yeah, it was about the memorial bench. Somebody wanted to know.
Oh,
I
right.
heard that
Yeah.
there was a
Right.
memorial bench. Can you tell me more about it?
Yeah, that's
So
great.
I felt comfortable doing that, but you're right. I mean, it would
See,
be
that's
nice.
a perfect example. I was getting ready to answer that because I thought they were talking about Wasserman.
Ah,
Because we
okay,
had the other bench go in Wasserman.
yeah. Well, he said it was overlooking the river,
Yeah.
so that, yours is over,
Right,
the one,
looking over the water, yeah.
yeah,
The brook.
yeah. Yeah, I could see having a point person.
So are you're looking for 2 things, to have a managed list
Have a managed list.
and to have someone who can run point to kick off the project and then to help delegate it to the
Yeah,
right.
he'll get the person in front of us until we can DNA it and get it to the right person.
I mean, I can run point on it, but I don't know the project, so. I mean, I can, if I get the email, if an email comes through from Boys or Girl Scouts, I can always be the first person that they talk to. Figure out what they want to do, what property they want to do it in, you know, and then I can talk to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we just want to just leave it at what property would you like to work on, then bring it to the
Yeah.
subcommittee.
To the subcom? Well,
So, yeah, so going back to what, having the idea of a project list is, I mean, I can easily speak to Wendy in our next quarterly update. Right now, she's working on stuff that I want to show at our next meeting because it's not quite ready yet. But I can ask her to create a project page, and we can start putting all our projects in there to what we think. We can give it a name, we can tell it what property, and we can give it some scope so someone can get an idea of, is this something I want to take on or is something I want an army to take on? And those could be potential projects that scouts could volunteer for. But so that's I think half the problem.
Yep.
The other half is who can do the initial vetting with someone. And if you're willing to do that, knowing that there's a list, or you're willing to take, then we could I think we solved the problem, right?
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
But I don't expect that page to be available on our website until, one, we have to start naming the projects, but she also won't start on that date until January or early February, so it'll be a little while before we have it.
It'd be great too, we could just take quick snapshots of things that have been done.
Yeah, we could also put completed projects
Yeah,
or
this is,
example
you know,
projects.
2010, 2012,
Yeah.
you know, blah, blah.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So I can work the website side of it, so.
Okay, that'd be good, that'd be good. I mean, it's gonna be something now that's available for everyone to see.
You would add this on
On the
Merrimack
webpage.
Outdoors?
Merrimack Outdoors, yeah.
And then, I mean, essentially what I can do is I can tell them that, you know, once they have talked to, you know, once we know what they're thinking of, that they would have to show it before the Conservation Commission and
Present the project plan.
present the project, okay?
Okay. That's a good idea, Tim, thank you.
Yeah, all right, so I can start working that.
Right.
Are there certain things that they would need to present as far, I mean, is this up to them to make the presentation, or are there certain things, criteria that we're looking for?
Well, probably
Yes.
both. Yeah, yes.
Yes, all right.
Yes.
So can I, you know, basically talk to you guys at some point about how I can vet them better?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if you guys just want to shoot me some ideas individually, then I can
Okay.
put together something and then show it to you.
Yeah. Does that work for you, Matt?
I think we're still individually going to have people come to us.
Yes, we
Oh,
are.
oh yeah, it's still gonna happen, but at least we can kind of, you know, either
Send them to Gina.
send them to Gina and get a, so everyone's coming through with the same direction and same plan and.
You might get them back, but.
Yeah, might get them back.
Odds are you will, right?
Right.
Right.
But I'll be the first person that they talk to and figure out what property and.
Somebody could talk to Matt Kasparius too, because he deals with this a lot also. And how, I don't mean to say organized, but how, you know, precise he is in his, does he keep a list or does he just happen on something?
So the scouts come to him to do projects?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, there's
they do.
a proposal now to do something over by Wasserman Park now, I believe.
What is that?
There's a proposal to do something at Wasserman Park now, I think, like kiosk.
More signing.
I don't know.
Information,
archery.
information.
I don't know. By the time it gets to us, you've already heard it, and the
Yeah.
Parks and Rec have already heard it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they had 3 projects,
Yeah,
pretty
it's just
good
saying
sized projects
that
this year.
That whole exercise loop was was a scout project originally.
Yeah.
Are you interested in knowing if they have a suggestion, or you just want to stick to whatever list you have?
No, their suggestions are also great too, because they
Okay.
might have thought something we didn't. So, yeah, yeah. Because I mean, we've had scouts where one brother did a bridge project, and then another brother did a trail or a similar project because they liked his project. So,
And we have another brother back last week. So the brother that did the bridge on Drilled Rock, or the double bridge, where you had to get DES approval.
yeah,
Wow.
That was a great. That's still a great. That's a
Yeah.
great little.
That
it is a
walk
great
through.
bridge.
That, yeah,
I met
that
with
is
his
wonderful.
little brother last weekend.
Oh, so we're gonna get a third project
So
out of the
many.
same family?
Yes.
Wow, cool.
Wow,
Wow,
that is good.
You don't know what that's going to be yet, do you?
He's thinking maybe an observation deck, or maybe a number of benches around Greater Woods.
Okay. Sounds good.
Because I would like to, you know, going back to the list, it'd be great to have them displayed,
Oh yeah.
and just so people can see it. You know, because they walk into the woods right now, they see a deck, they're like, yeah, that's nice, whatever. It may be cool to have it, you know. Well, so you know, remember that little kid that was next door? He did that. You know, that thing was kind of nice.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so we tried to include some of the scout projects in our annual report.
Right.
So if you look at our previous annual reports, you'll see that we tried to highlight some of the scout projects just to give them credit, because they are a big help on our properties. So,
I mean, are we interested, because I know there are always kids that are looking for community service hours. Are we interested in working with any of those kids, or do we need something that's
Yeah, community service hours.
Yeah.
I mean, the Wasserman Park along Natticook Road, there's always trash in there.
yeah?
Get that picked up really well would be great.
And then we would sign off on it?
Oh,
Because I think
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That might be something worthwhile putting on the website. Because, I mean, I know kids that want to be in National Honor Society, they never have enough hours, so it's like a hard thing for them to get the hours, especially if they work. Because National Honor Society doesn't care if you have a job. They want community service hours.
We have some trash at the Scalar property too.
I got plenty of, tell them to wear Kevlar
Yeah.
when they're doing it.
Get your tetanus before.
Don't park in the bowl.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's a bowl now.
That
yeah.
would be scary.
Don't park in the bowl.
Okay.
All right. Are we done with that?
Mhm.
Any more comments, questions? No? All right, so subcommittee updates. Gina, you got anything?
I don't have anything. It's been quiet in Wildcat.
Cindy, nothing? Okay.
Oh, actually, question. Do you know if the gravel was dumped?
I do not know if it was dumped.
It was requested?
It was requested.
Okay, I'll
Uh,
ask,
It's a little late.
subcommittee people.
Not as of yesterday.
It was not dumped as of yesterday?
But
Okay.
maybe not have been requested as of yesterday yet either.
Oh, okay.
That's all right, I'm still working on
So-
the press release there.
I'm,
No preemptive dumping.
I told her it was flagged. Is it pretty obvious that it's flagged where it's going?
Liz flagged it,
Okay, so it's pretty obvious that,
Should be.
okay.
yeah.
I didn't go check, but.
It's on the other side from where the picnic table is.
Yeah, it's
It's-
4 red flags.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're really.
You're so good.
All right. Well, that's, I just want to, I'm anticipating, I'm going to get a question back, okay, where, in the general vicinity, where is it? I'm like, it's flagged.
It's
Drive through the gate,
Yeah.
It's on the left.
All right.
50 yards on your left.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah,
That's perfect.
yeah. You see the pond, the
Detention
detention pond right in front of you if you sit there. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Wasn't there also some drainage issues that we
Yeah,
wanted
that's,
to
yeah,
be addressed?
yeah. Next
Don't
year.
confuse her.
Okay.
Next year. Yeah. Let's do one project at a time.
Okay.
Don't confuse me.
No.
No, not you. No.
I'm already confused.
Not
I know
you.
what you're talking about, though. We'll do the gravel first, because I don't think we can do anything with the drainage until spring anyway. If
It's not our road to do anything with.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. We keep bringing it up, and you keep saying, "Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
All right. Well, it can go to fall. Is that it?
That's it.
Want this?
No, you can. Yeah, we have a proposal.
Yeah, we the subcom meeting, Greater Woods subcom meeting the other day, 21st. We've got seemingly had good agreement to try to retread the bridges, the Ridge and Brickyard Bridge. So we've got a proposal to do them. It's going to be not to exceed. We're expecting not to exceed $300. We need about 200 feet of 2x6 and the accompanying nails or screws to put it all together. So we're asking the MCC to approve the expenditure from Fund 73 to.
You making a motion?
No, I'm just telling you what we're what the subcom wants. So
And this was well, not the completion, but a project that the Girl Scouts really started
yeah,
and spurred us on to finish and maybe even do a little bit more improving.
yeah, because the
2 bridges that are just about to fail and built with the lumber from Greater Woods
Yeah, the
That's-
original
it was
lot.
never treated.
Spruce, they're 10 plus years old. So we've had the Brickyard Bridge in particular is, it's at ground level, but the stream that runs underneath it is it's a good distance away. And we had replaced 4 treads, and they're 2x10. So when one breaks, you've got a big hole. And we had 2 break, so we had a 20 plus inch hole in the middle of the bridge. It's been repaired for now, but so we're proposing to go back and retread that bridge and the Ridge Bridge, because that one's the same age. It gets a little bit more sun, so it's not quite as rotted, but it's starting to get some holes. And we're just going to retread them with a little bit narrower board 2x6. It's they're pressure treated. They're both 24 feet long, and they're pressure treated stringers. So there's only 2. It's not a way with some of the bridges we're building now with 3 stringers. So
You need a motion?
yes, we do.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve funds to repair the bridges in Greater Woods, not to exceed,
On the bottom.
here's the treads on the bridges. That amount requested, so not to exceed $300
Second.
From fund?
from Fund, is it 53?
Right. We're gonna wait for Jen to get back.
153, right. Yeah.
No.
Can I have all of it?
Oh, sorry.
All right, there's a motion.
My second.
You second? Mike made the motion. Cindy seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's treads on a bridge.
What is it?
I just made a motion to approve $300 from Fund 53 for press treads on bridge.
Oh, sure.
Okay. It passes. It passes.
Thank you.
Eventually passes 700. Okay. That's coming up.
I know that trail too. a little bit.
Saturday.
I've been
That's
down
coming up
for
Saturday
years, so.
to retread those bridges. If anyone would like to,
Volunteered you for something. No, I'm kidding.
if anyone would like to join us,
And additional work in those areas.
yeah. We'll see.
What time Saturday?
9
We're
a.m.
9 a.m. We're meeting at the school, the upper lot.
Madeline Bennett
Yeah, the Madeline Bennett.
turnaround.
Yeah.
'Cause the first bridge is very close to the turnaround.
So that's going to be a fun one.
Did you look into that
Chilly day.
leftover pressure treated wood that too? It's by the rock.
Yeah, Matt. That's 4x4 though. It's 4x It's posts. So that may actually be worthwhile to fix the
The
kiosk.
yeah.
Yeah. I just remember seeing it there, that's all.
Yeah.
For quite a while.
Yeah, it was, I think what happened is the repairs that we did on the broken bridges, or the
Yeah.
broken bridge on Brickyard Trail, people were walking over it, and you'd step on the pressure treated, and you'd have good traction, and then you'd step on the spruce or hemlock, whatever the native wood was, and it was just slippery in comparison. So it was like, we just should finish this.
Yeah.
I noticed on some of the small bridges that on some of the trails, you use the plastic.
Trex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a contractor donate,
Okay.
a number of, 30-inch and less,
I see.
and it was great. That stuff is going to be there forever.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's why, if that's better than the pressure treated or.
On a narrow bridge, on a shoulder width bridge, it is, because they have a lot of flex.
Yeah.
So if it's
Okay, I
a
got
narrow
it.
bridge, you can get away with it.
Got the support, yeah.
We'd
But
have-
on
we'd
a
have to- we'd
wide
have to have a-
span,
yeah.
it bends too much.
Exactly.
Yeah, it would bend a lot.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially like on the Brickyard Bridge.
Yeah.
There's two stringers,
and you got a
and
36
it's
inch.
36, so that would be.
Yes.
Like the entrance of Kids Cove.
Yeah. So It is great for a narrow bridge, but once you get any longer, then
Okay.
All right. Anything else from your meeting?
we. Do you have anything in mind? Am I missing something?
No, I don't know.
Okay, no. Yeah, so we discussed the maybe needing a new scout for the outdoor classroom, and then various other scout interests coming out. And we actually got another scout reaching out this week to meet. So now I'll send him your way.
Yeah.
But then I'll be sending them back to you.
Yeah,
for
although
their-
I think I'm meeting with him Saturday. I
Okay.
think he's going to show up for the bridge building to help us,
Okay.
Oh, good.
and also talk about a future thing. So
Yeah, I think at this point it's the ones that are coming in fresh. If you guys already have them in the system, then
Well, we can start generating that list too, just the list, the project list. Because we have old stuff from
Mm-hmm.
just
Much
sitting out
stuff.
there. So, okay, good.
How about a new subcommittee?
Sounds great.
Your mission's going to be to connect.
So take
and
one,
read the
pass
screen
it down.
capture.
So I hit the print on my printer, forgetting that the last time I printed it was on 2 pages per page.
Is
it the
this
Fields Farm?
the same
Fields
one?
Farm,
that
yeah.
you sent out
oh,
before?
okay.
Yeah,
I
change
already
it.
printed it
In
out.
case you didn't print it out.
I printed
Exact same thing. It's so we've talked about creating a Fields Farm subcommittee. We have it on our website. They were looking to create one. We have a couple of people interested who have sent interest that I have not acted on, only because we really didn't have a charge in place. So here's my attempt at putting a charge in place.
Actually, we have a copy, I think, with the
Yeah.
packet, right?
Yeah, so basically what I did is I modeled the charge that's with the current Horse Hill Nature Preserve Subcommittee. I changed the size. Horse Hills has 7 full-time members and 3 alternates. I dropped it down to 5 full-time members and 3 alternates, similar to what we have in Wildcat Falls. We're talking, close to 100 acres, so it's about the same size. I thought the size of the committee is appropriate. And of course, if people are interested in the public, they can join in and participate. I mean, that's never stopped. The other thing that's different from the Horse Hill charge is I added one of the items that they should be working on is a management plan for the property, because we already have that for Horse Hill, therefore it's not on there. Okay, but pretty much the wording after that, I don't believe I changed, unless it's very minor. But really, this is just to introduce the idea. I'm not looking for a vote tonight because I didn't agenda it, but Gage is going to agenda it for our next meeting. But I just wanted to introduce this charge. If you all could take some time, read it through. If you want to see the charges for the other subcommittees, you can find them on our webpage. They're all available under each one of the major properties for the other 3 subcommittees, so you can compare and contrast. The very first subcommittee we put together was Wildcat Falls. I used that charge, or I should say the commission used that charge to generate the Greater Woods one, and then that charge was used to generate the Horse Hill one, and now I'm using the Horse Hill one to generate the charge for the Fields Farm. So there's probably been some minor tweaks along the way. The original Wildcat Falls was formatted different. It had little blocks and squares on it, but it had the same verbiage. I took the blocks and squares out when we did Horse Hill and just have verbiage. It's just easier to edit and manipulate. So again, this is just to introduce the potential charge. At our next meeting, we'll discuss changes, additions, ratifications, all that stuff. All right?
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
are we sure on the spelling of Fields Farm?
Have you seen it different somewhere?
I feel like in town we have so many spelling.
We do have spelling errors all over the place. Yes.
Mitchell Woods.
Mitchell Woods.
Mitchell Woods only supposed to have one L.
Spalding Foundation, Greater Woods.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
right. Greater and greater. Yeah, absolutely. We got Green Pond on Greens Pond Road. Okay.
I feel
All right.
like we should nail it early.
Yeah, right. vote on that.
Well, how, I've only seen it spelled Fields
Yeah.
Farm. Have you seen it spelled differently?
You mean
haven't.
an apostrophe before the S?
Yeah. Is
Um,
it the
I-
Fields family farm?
No, so I have some history on this, and I can bring it to our next meeting, okay? But the name was provided to us by Charles Ireland, because Charles Ireland owned this parcel.
Yeah.
It used to be known as the Ireland parcel for many years, but when he donated to the town, he donated it asking that the name be Fields Farm, based on the fact that there were a number of owners of the parcels, of that parcel and adjoining parcels, and there were a few different families. There was the Spalding family, there was the Fields family, there was another family, and he requested that it be known, in perpetuity as Fields Farm. So I can confirm that I got the spelling correctly, but I believe I do. So, and I can bring you that history, which would all be brought out when we created a subcommittee. We should have that history.
So is there potentially more land going to be added to that from your neighborhood?
Well, that's the other part of this, which is probably a good reason for us to get this subcommittee in place, is that there is a commitment from the developers of the Tomasian parcel to donate the 20-plus acres that are around that development to the town for conservation purposes, and that abuts this parcel. So the 80-plus acres of Fields Farm could be augmented by 20 acres of other land, common land, and then we could join up or create a multi-use trail system that way. So
There's
within.
quite a bit of frontage on the river, right?
Correct, yes. The way when that development was being proposed, it was proposed to keep the actual building parcels outside of the 250-foot buffer from the Sauhegan River, and that 250-foot buffer would be donated to the town as part of that. So it's a lot. I mean, they didn't have to go through regulatory approvals, and it gave us more frontage on the river. And a great trail. There's a nice trail down there. So, and for the record, I am an abutter. I'm now an owner of one of those people parcels down there. So, people, yeah, instead of conservation parcels.
Right.
So we can just park in front of your house.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
sure. Walk right through my side yard, backyard, and there's a soon-to-be trail going right through there. So no problem.
Cool.
You have to join the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, wear your boots in the spring though. It gets pretty muddy.
Thank you.
You should just wear your boots all the time.
Yeah, right.
I need to buy some
Just
boots.
some hip waders.
My wellies. Want wellies.
So I would think that once that donation was complete, that we would include that in Fields Farm.
Yep.
So I have not spoken to the developers lately to find out what their plans are. So but it is in all the records that they're going to donate it. It's just a matter of when. The last discussion I had was when they were done using a piece of the parcel with it, they're using for staging of material and stuff like that. They've got a loam and other stuff on part of the parcel. And they only have 2 lots left to be sold and developed. The others are all either built or being built. So I would say sometime next year that would happen.
So, read it. We're going to vote on it next week, or next meeting, I mean. Yeah.
It's even dated for next week.
Oh, something should be the 18th.
Should be the 18th, yes. I have the
right,
wrong
that's right.
calendar.
Did you send this to Sharon?
I did.
Okay. So I don't need to give her a copy
You
tonight.
do not.
Okay.
Nope. It went to Ann. It went to Dawn.
All
So
right.
Dawn has it for our record minutes or whatever.
All right. Do we have any other committee updates?
It's like the air conditioning.
No? You cold?
No, we're almost done.
All right, so minutes of November 20th. We want to take those up?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Do I need a motion?
We do.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the November 20th, 2017 meeting minutes with corrections.
Second.
Okay, Mike makes a motion, Cindy second. Any comments? Go ahead, Gina.
I don't have too many. On page 5, line 24, it currently says there was note the emergency road. I would change there was note to it was noted. The emergency road should be fixed. On page 5, line 46, it says motion by Commissioner Karen. I would change that to motion by Vice Chairman Karen. And that was all that I had.
I have one.
Go ahead, Mike.
Page 2, line 51. There are a number that fall in that category. Some border Babusick. Is that supposed to be Babusick Brook? Or is that Babusick's?
Yes, it's supposed to be Babusick Brook.
Yeah, so Brook should be inserted after Babusick.
Yes.
I just wanted to confirm that the time was correct.
Yeah, we started late.
Yeah, we
Oh, okay.
started late because of all that traffic.
Okay, just checking. Because I didn't get here until 6:44, but the first one was like done when I got here, so I was like, oh,
Quick.
it was quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all.
All right, is that it for comments and questions?
I've got one.
Okay. Tim?
So this one really goes, what's page 1, line 8 and line 10. We have chairperson Gage Perry and vice chairperson. If you look at our officers, they're called chairperson and vice chairperson per our. And this is a long time ago, and I just noticed it tonight. It was like, wow.
Yeah, we've been doing that forever.
We have, yes. We've been doing it forever. But technically, per our bylaws.
Our bylaws, we're chair people.
Chair people, yes.
Chairmans of persons, huh?
Yeah, so chairman should be chairperson everywhere.
Okay,
just
so,
chair.
Or just chair, yeah.
so on line 46 for page 5, then instead of vice chairman Karen, it
Oh.
should be chairperson.
Or vice chair.
Chair.
Vice
Vice
chair,
chair.
yeah.
Okay.
We can let Dawn decide how she wants to.
Or non-sexist.
You can do
We
find
are
and
an equal
replace.
opportunity commission.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Any
Non-chair.
other questions and comments? No. All right. So we have a motion to amend, to accept as amended. How do you vote?
Favor.
In favor.
All right. In favor. There we go. All right. So that passes 7-0-0. So commissioner comments. Cindy? Nothing? Matt? Tim?
Nope, nothing new, except hunting season last weekend for the for most hunting activities is this weekend.
We're still. When's bow stop?
December.
15th.
No.
Something ends the
Later.
15th, I think.
Later. Yeah.
Oh, even
So
later.
bow still goes for another week or
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It goes into almost.
But firearm season pretty much comes to an end after this weekend.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Still would wear your hunter orange.
Yeah.
I would, yep, absolutely.
Especially this weekend because
Those
hard to get the last couple shots out.
the gate, Greater Road is effective. I've seen a couple vehicles try to drive in there.
Was that your comment?
I guess that's my comment.
your
That
comment?
has to do with what you're talking about.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not giving up my turn.
I saw a guy on a quad with a rifle on his back.
Oh, jeez.
So
Jackie, do you have any comments?
No, other than you can buy toys all you want, but you don't necessarily have the right to use them anywhere you want.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Second
Gina?
that.
Anything else,
No
Mike?
further comments.
Yeah, no further comment.
I don't have anything. So. Motion to adjourn. Okay. So 9:07. Cancels the meeting.